Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome all members and guests to the December 12th, 2023 Council and Committee meeting. I will remind everyone that our meetings are web streamed and televised. Please ensure your phones are on silent mode. For those attending virtually, please mute yourself when not speaking. When called upon to speak, please turn on your camera and unmute yourself. For staff in attendance, please use the Microsoft Teams raise hand feature to be called upon and remove it after speaking. I'd like to take a moment to turn things over to Sarah Page, the General Manager of Health and Social Services, who will introduce Norfolk County's new Chief of Paramedic Services, Justin Hobson. Sarah.
Thank you, and through the chair to council. As yesterday was the official end of my duty as paramedic chief, I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of the paramedics for their unwavering dedication, hard work, and compassion in serving our community. Your work and commitment continue to inspire me, and it has truly been an honor to serve you and our community. With every ending, there's a new beginning, and I'm excited today to introduce the new Norfolk County Paramedic Services Chief, Justin Hobson. Chief Hobson has served across the province in both rural and urban services as an advanced care paramedic, and his keen eye for innovation and moving the field of paramedicine forward, combined with his collaborative and supportive nature, will ensure a strong and dynamic future for paramedic services in Norfolk County. Please join me in welcoming Chief Justin Hobson. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, Your Worship, members of council, and members of the public, I'm Justin Hobson. It's an honor to stand here before you today as the new Chief of Norfolk County Paramedic Services. My journey in Norfolk County began in 2021 when I took on the role of Paramedic Commander. Today, I'm excited about the opportunity to transition into this new position and continue serving our community. I want to express my gratitude to Chief Sarah Page for her mentorship and inspiration. Her guidance has been invaluable in preparing me for this role. I'm committed to upholding the standards of excellence set by Chief Page and building upon the strong foundation she's established. As I step into this new position, I'm keenly aware of the challenges that lie ahead, particularly in navigating the ever-evolving landscape of the healthcare industry. I'm dedicated to staying informed and adapting to these changes to ensure Norfolk County Paramedic Services remains at the forefront of providing exceptional care to our community. In closing, I'm looking forward to working with council and senior management to prioritize service to our community. Enthusiastically embracing the journey ahead, I'm confident that alongside our dedicated team, we'll overcome these challenges and continue to deliver a service our community can rely on. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Very well presented. All the best in your new role. Now we'll move on. I notice that all members of the committee are present, Madam Clerk, and we're moving on to disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest? We have Councillor Duthie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to declare conflict of interest related to closed session item 4.4 due to my personal connections to the item.
So noted. The clerk's department, I would imagine, has that documented. Thank you. Approval of the agenda or changes to the agenda. Committee has the agenda before them. Are there any changes to the agenda? No hands up. That's so noted. Thank you. May I have a motion to, no. We have one early closed session item today. And can I have a mover for the following motion? That the committee enter closed session at 10:45 p.m. pursuant to the Municipal Act 2001 as amended section 239(2)C to discuss matters pertaining to a proposed pending or acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. Did I say 10 a.m.? Sorry. Anyway, those that mover and a seconder to go in closed session, Councillor Michelli, seconded by Councillor Huffman. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We'll be going into closed session. Thank you.
Welcome to episode 7 of Passionate Folks. This is a blog and video series about the people who live right here in Norfolk. I sit down with them, have a conversation, ask them about their stories, their passions.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm excited to present the next guest.
I just see the 10 up there, you know.
Welcome welcome to Passionate Folks. I'm Emily. I love to ask questions
Yeah.
and get to know people better. Today I'm here with Dan. Hey, Dan.
Hey there, how are you?
Great.
Excellent.
Might be you stop by for coffee.
Yeah, well, nice to have me. I'm really delighted.
So we already had a good chat, but for people that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit more about you, where you live, and what you do?
Yeah. My name's Dan Fewings, and I was a Simcoe boy, an SCS grad growing up. From 0 to 18, I lived in Simcoe. And then I think I lived in Brantford for a year, lived in Dover for a bit, and then followed a gal up north to Peterborough, or Lindsay, and I ended up spending 28 years there teaching high school. Loved every minute of it. A bunch of different experiences. And when I retired in 2014, I thought, my ma's not doing so well down there. It's going to need some attention. And also followed a friend here, and bingo. And now I live just outside of Simcoe, in between Simcoe and Victoria on Highway 24.
Great. I'm so glad you took time to have this little chat. I want to know more about you today, and I'm going to be asking some questions.
Yeah.
But first, I ask you to pick a spot that means something to you in Norfolk. So maybe start by telling us where we are and why you picked this place.
Well, I love this place, not only for the food, although in my new machination I'm more careful what I eat, so I only have one crepe a week. But I love this place because Jim and Penny, the owners, are good friends. They've hired me to play here. They give the artists freedom to be a little zany here. They're good to their staff. They run a good ship. And I love the outside in the summer. It's rocking. They do a great job getting lots of music in. I think they have music all July, August, and September, like a whack of things. And I also, if you need experience, I sort of got born out here. I have a character, I do the song chef, and they were like the first ones to say, oh, you've got to come in and do it. So.
I love what you're talking about. Like, you're involved in so many things into your retirement that you seem to really enjoy the art. Is that the main thing you're passionate about, or?
Well, I like joy spreading, and the most rewarding thing I think I do is my gal Rosie and I, after we had a trip to Newfoundland, and after I did a tour of Newfoundland, we picked up on the kitchen party notion, and so we have a little duet called the Kitchen Party Orchestra, and we go to the seniors' homes and the respite center in Hagersville and Simcoe, and we give them the folks their instruments to play with us, so they're part of it. They're getting some exercise, and that is joy spreading 101.
So spent a lot of time away from Norfolk, decided to come back to Norfolk in your retirement. So tell me, if you don't have a gig, if you're not involved in something, what do you do to hang out, to relax? Where do you like to go?
Well, I love the geography, so I always like going down to one of the many shores while there still exist.
Yeah, so Port Mercy's a little small this year.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. I love, and
are you a beach guy, or?
Not in the summer, I'm not, but I am, sort of going to the water for answers kind of a guy. Okay. You know what I mean? Yep. The Leonard Cohen dimension. And so Long Point was always hugely special as a kid, I spend a lot of time at the Simcoe Little Theater. That's a great organization, and they're doing fun and they're welcoming, and so I'm going to play coming up that I'm doing. And
you don't seem to have too much downtime. You seem to keep pretty busy.
Keeps me out of the housework, that's for sure.
Out of the ocean.
He's all busy. Making some ass right now. Sewing,
Yeah.
And so.
Is it hard to get artists to come and play here, or? People, are they curious about wanting to see Norfolk and see what
and
this is
you know
about,
what? More people, house concerts are amazing too. And I was never a musician on the road. I did 2 1-month tours with a student, and I had a buddy of mine, Jimmy Boskill, who was a student of mine. And he said, "When you retire, we're going on tour." My son is in a band, the May Hemingways, so he traveled lots east. So he booked us from Peterborough to Newfoundland, 24 gigs and 26 nights. Both, but you make, as a musician, you make way more at a house concert and play more concerty, less with people listening. No. People love to play, right? So oftentimes people think you need the applause as much as you need the money. No. And many people are lined up. So it's you don't want to do it? That's okay. I've got Tiny Talent Time and his brother here that'll play for you, and so people, that's why it's so nice to be in a place like this where that their entertainment budget is a really significant amount of money. And there are a lot of places in town here. The 211 does it as well. Even the Norfolk has a whack of music, and it's getting bigger around here with all the with the craft beer industry, the wine industry. All those places are looking for some entertainment to get their clients in. So I think it's it's going to be significant. It's just a tricky game.
So music, obviously a big part of your life?
It is a big part of my life. Yeah, I think I started when I was 13. My brother handed me a John Prine album, the very first one with him sitting on the hay bale and a guitar, and showed me the C, F, and G chords, and I never had a lesson after that.
You just learn on your own?
I just learned on my own. Guitar has, and stringed instruments often have tablature.
Yep.
Especially ones that have frets, so it's a grid really, so they can it's easy on notation to put a number 1 on a 1,
Yep.
you're at the first,
Okay, you know
so
where
it's
you
an
are.
easier
So,
system.
yep.
But what happened was I was working in the teachers union. I had been seconded out of teaching for a couple of years. The head of music was leaving to become a minister, and he said, Dan, can you teach kids how to play guitar? And I said, absolutely. And I said, now Larry, you know I don't read music, right? And, you don't? And I said, no, but I'll buy tablature. So at any rate, years funny. Made it work. And down the road it was funny because Jimmy Boskill, who's a wizard player, doesn't read music either. He had auditioned for this art school, and I was sitting at me, they weren't going to let him in because he didn't read music. And I said, I should let you folks know, as you know, I don't read music. And I said, if you're not letting this kid into the program, give me 2 weeks notice, because I'm not going to be the guitar teacher that wouldn't take him in. So you got to keep it moving.
Is that one of your favorite instruments?
It's a Latin instrument. It comes from the Andes, so Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Chile. It's usually used in But then I found, being sort of a folky dokey player too, it's like a good bluegrass instrument too. And it's like in the day and age of cutbacks, when the bluegrass bands start firing the banjo player and the mandolin player, you get both with one.
You show up with this one, you're good. You're good at drumming gig.
That's right.
Perfect.
And this is a charango, and it is higher up. So I started with one of these. And then I'm a big fella, so it's, and you don't need a strap, it sticks right in your belly button. Like you couldn't peel that off with a groper.
All right, so you do some improv.
I do. So give me a title to a song never before written. It can be anything.
Let's go with the Bikini Crepe, I guess.
Bikini Crepe?
We're here, the Crepe House.
Well, it's more appropriate on a day like today to not sing about martini. So let's think while we're in the land of sand about a crepe martini. No pina colada beside you now. No, it's done somehow. Here comes the customer now. He's probably gonna order the crepe bikini. Now the thing about the bikini crepe, it's teeny weeny, it's how they make it. I'm not sure if it's a Speedo sauce, but it's nice all the same. It's teeny weeny, but it's my favorite, that old crepe bikini. Yes, sirree, I think he's making me one now. And it might be true that you can't wait for your bikini crepe, but that's okay. Got time on my hands. Right on.
All right, cheers, Sam.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining me. Have a coffee. That was
Absolutely.
awesome.
Right on.
Love it.
Good. Thank you very much. Great. See you later. Thanks, Drew.
Great, guys.
No, it's not possible. No, I cannot tell you what to say.
My name is Jim Toombs. I'm an Associate Purchasing Specialist here at Toyotetsu, also known as TTCA. Here at Toyotetsu, we're responsible for supplying Toyota with car parts, mainly automotive frame for the Lexus, the Corolla, and other Toyota models. I started here in May of 2016. I was in welding. Here I am 2 years later, and I'm a salaried position. The job itself it's challenging. There are challenges in what I have to do every day, and for that I enjoy it. It's not monotonous day in, day out. There's new challenges that I'm confronted with and new tasks that I have to do. A high school student who's like, I'm not sure, I think this is an excellent opportunity to kind of answer that question for themselves. They can see what kind of the working world is like, as well as pick up skills. There are plenty of opportunities here. For example, for me, I was in welding, but that didn't mean I had to stay there. There's opportunities in stamping, where you'd learn different skills entirely. PC, again, the same thing, some different skills needed that you'd learn. Though we make car parts and they're welded, there are a lot of departments and areas that support that.
My name's Aaron Pace. I'm a yard manager here at Townsend Lumber. We are a sawmill that produces lumber. We make anywhere from rail ties to timber frame home products, kiln-dried lumber, which is used for wood cabinets and furniture. We also do pallet components, and we also do stakes for farming. We ship container loads to the Middle East, we ship it to Asia. We have gone to Mexico, Singapore. We've shipped to many different locations. My father has worked here for 30 years. He got me a part-time job as a summer student. I started as a regular piler, as a laborer at the entry-level position. And with hard work and dedication, I've been promoted through the system, and it took 9 years to become a supervisor. I enjoy the freedom of the job, like outside working with the heavy industrial stuff, talking to the range of customers and the way we produce things for them.
My name is Cam Kirkwood. I'm a production supervisor at Superior Essex in Simcoe. We make magnet wire and cable for the transformer industries. Our magnet wire products are found all around you that most people don't even notice, in winding motors, in alternators in your vehicles, transformers on the side of the road or on top of poles. I've been here at the company for 15 years. I started on the floor as a machine operator for 7 years, and then I did a stint in engineering for about a year, and then I moved on to production supervisor for the last 7. One of the best parts about working here is it is a build-to-order shop, so although we do make similar products every day, it's very unique. We don't always see the same orders. There's always new challenges. One of the best parts about being in manufacturing for me is the shift work. So it provides an opportunity for you to adjust to do your own life on your days off, or you can pursue other interests. A lot of people have second businesses or hobbies that they really enjoy. There is lots of opportunity to advance. There's educational assistance programs. You can continue to learn new skills and advance to a new area if you were so desire.
There's a great opportunity moving up the manufacturing sector.
Try it, because you're going to learn a lot about the working world as well as yourself.
Welcome to Passionate Folks, a blog and video series where I'll be highlighting people from Norfolk County who have a passion, who are involved in our community, who are the movers and shakers. So I'm excited to introduce every month somebody new from Norfolk that will bring you their story, their passion, and share it all with us. Come on in. All right, welcome to the first episode of Passionate Folks. I'm Emily, and I love to dig in people's life and getting to know more about them. I'm here with Jess today. Thanks, Jess, for showing up.
Thank you for having me. This
Yes.
is so exciting.
So just for the people that don't know you, introduce yourself, tell me a little bit more about you and the person that you are.
Sure. Well, my name's Jess, and I grew up in Waterford, more specifically Boston, more specifically Bill's Corners. I'm a passionate Norfolk advocate. I love this area. I love theater, I love music, I love anything arts related. Also a passionate advocate for entrepreneurs in the area.
So I invited you to pick a location in Norfolk that meant something to you. So tell us where we are and why you picked this place.
All right, we are here in Simcoe Little Theater. It's on the corner of Talbot and Yonge in downtown Simcoe. And this place, Simcoe Little Theater, is a very special place to me. I've spent most of my life in these walls, on that stage, behind the stage, in these seats, like everywhere in this space. It's something that theater is something that's like has always been a big part of my life since I was about 8 years old.
You mentioned to me that you also in high school, you were really involved into the drama program and all that, so.
I had walked the halls of my high school and I'd seen so many pictures on the wall of different shows they had done throughout the years, but nobody was doing shows anymore. And I was like really bummed about that. So in grade 10, me and my girlfriends, we roped all our moms in. We're like, if we start doing high school shows, like, will you guys help? Will you make costumes? Will you whatever? And they all jumped in.
Involved.
Yeah.
I love that, right? Like, that's a small community, like,
That's
everybody
it.
coming in together.
And like, that's what it requires, right? Like, a show is like a mini village coming together, like making all the pieces happen.
So this community, I think the word, like, you keep repeating it, and I think what you're creating in Groundswell is that sub-community within the community, and that really stands out. So would you say this is something that you're really passionate about?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Yes, that connection,
Totally.
right? Yeah.
I just think like community is everything. We're not meant to live life alone. I don't think. And I don't mean like you have to necessarily have a romantic partner to live a life, but just have people around you that get you, that you don't have to explain yourself. You know what I mean? You just walk in the room and they're happy to see you. That's it.
That's always such a good feeling. Isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah, like you just have those people that, believe in you too, right?
Yeah.
And just cheerleaders.
Yeah.
So I see, Jess, you're always involved in this community, like you're volunteering places, you really want this place to grow and thrive, and so why Norfolk, and what do you love so much about this place?
Oh man, I think, yeah, it's a really good question. It's a combination of things. I think the geography that we live in, the nature we have around us, that is a huge benefit of being in Norfolk. But it's also the people here. And that's why I'm so obsessed with community, because we have so many beautiful people who live here with ideas, with talents, with love and vision. And I think that's what excites me. It's like, just because we're a small town doesn't mean we have small ideas or small impact.
I want to bring some of the music piece, because I know we've been talking a lot about the theater and acting, but I know that music is so important to you.
Yes.
And a big part of your life.
Yes.
So tell me a bit more about your maybe influences and what makes you feel alive in music.
Just like theater, I love performing music too. There's something really cool about being on stage like that. Before I came here today, I was like thinking about how alive I feel when I'm on stage. And I think that everyone kind of looks for that thing that makes them feel alive.
Yeah.
So for me, it's that.
Awesome. So I thank you so much, Jess, for taking the time to meet with me. There's going to be more feature of passionate, uplifting community people through this little video series. So keep watching. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. This is so much fun.
Awesome. Welcome to Passionate Folks, a blog and video series about the people that live in Norfolk, people that are passionate, people that are involved in their community, people that bring a lot of positivity. This is about story and conversation. Join us for the second guest. Welcome to episode 2 of Passionate Folks. I'm Emily. I love to ask questions, learn about people, get some connections. I'm here with Carrie today.
Thank you for having me.
I've been chatting with you and I got to know you a little bit more, but for folks that don't know you, maybe introduce yourself.
My name is Carrie Bokenholt. I live here in Waterford. I've lived here for over 15 years. I'm married. I got 2 kids, and I just love the community.
From our conversation today, there's a lot of the community word showed up quite a few times, so
I'm a believer of, when I moved into Waterford, I thought, wow, you know what, if we get involved, then you learn so much more and you meet so many different people. I mean, people that I know if I wouldn't have met otherwise.
Yes. So I asked you to pick a location, Carrie, and so tell us where we are and why you picked it.
I picked the Waterford Heritage Agriculture Museum, WHAM, because in a couple summers we will be building our skateboard park here. So it's kind of a let's do it. Not that I wear the shirt or anything, but yes, this will be our future location on the other side.
Talking about passion and passionate people, what do you think your passion is?
My passion is youth. I love kids. You know what? There's no such thing as a bad kid. Kids make bad decisions. And as the old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And I truly believe that, we give kids, that opportunity and show them that we support them and that, that we're there for them and they'll make the right decisions.
I made a stop at her business. She has a business downtown Waterford, and I was seeing that your family works there, your friends, your best friend is...
My best friend is with me. Both best friends, yes.
So this tight-knit community feel is really important to you.
When I was given my dream and somebody said to me, here, I'll help you, create your dream. And I thought, okay, karma. So this is somebody saying to me, it's my opportunity to use this to give back. If I have a restaurant, nobody should be hungry. I want kids to feel like they can come in and say, I need something, or I need a drink, or, whatever. I've been doing this for 30 years, and the kids that I trained 30 years ago still come back to find me. And they come back and they tell me what they've been doing. And I guess the biggest thing is people don't realize sometimes the simplest thing can change a kid's life.
It is a ripple effect, don't you think?
It is, you know what? And I mean, so I get to see their, I feel old when I start seeing them coming with their kids. And I start seeing, that they've gone through and they're going to university, or they're doing this, or they've done this or done that. And it makes me feel like, I had a piece of that. Just by being involved in their life, maybe I made a little bit of a difference.
So you're an entrepreneur, you're super involved in your community, you're a mom, you have a lot on the go. So if I ask you, what do you do to de-stress and let go?
I like to go to the gym. I like to, boot camp, yoga. I try to take, a few hours a week for me.
Yes.
And it's just about me. And I honestly think anybody who's really busy, I think, needs to learn. It took me 48 years to figure it out. But
never too late.
Never too late. As I said, I can go to the gym and I can be having the world's hardest day, and I always say I leave it on the mat.
Love.
So when I walk out of there, I feel like a completely, totally different person. Leave it on the mat.
So other than that, when you're in Norfolk, what else do you love to do? What's your favorite spot or place that you like to visit, or something you love to do?
Love to go on the trails. I love going fishing on the ponds. Waterford, we have so many little places to go and see and do and
What's
stuff.
happening in this community?
You know what, there is. And I mean, the thing is we don't really, I laugh because there's so many of us who don't see what's here. They're right here. Whistling Gardens, Bonnie Heath. We have all the wineries and stuff. The museum. There's so many places to go. You can have a staycation without leaving Norfolk.
Yes. So thank you so much, Carrie, for joining me today and being part of this vlog and video series. I invite you to check it on. Every month there will be somebody new, a new story, a new connection. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome to Passionate Folks, a blog and video series about the people of Norfolk. It's about people that have high energy, that get involved in their community. We sit down, have a conversation, learn about their passions. Welcome to the next episode. Hello, I'm Emily. Welcome to Passionate Folks. I love to ask questions and discover people's passion and having great conversations. So today I'm here with Nick. Hi, Nick.
Hi.
Might be you here, might be you invited me to a great place. I got to know you a little bit more today, but I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about you.
Sure. So I'm Nick Cranks. I was raised in Langton, and I live in St. Williams now.
So Norfolk County boy.
Yeah, Norfolk County boy. Yeah. If you're going to put a location on it, and if you're asking someone where you're from, this area, you always say Norfolk County. Unless you're from Port Dover.
Did you say Port Dover?
And then you say Port Dover for some reason.
I invited you to pick a place. So tell us where we are and why you decided to invite me here.
So we're at where I work, Blueberry Hill Estates, which my family owns as well too. This is where I spend probably my entire day every day of the year. So we're located on the patio here, and we're basically overlooking the patch. And you probably cannot see from the camera because it's on the other side of the camera, but the lake is just on the other side.
I love to hear about people's passion, and I know you have a lot of projects going on, and I want to dig further into your passions. So what do you think really stands out for you? What are you really passionate about?
So day in, day out, I'm typically making wine or working the field, so that's something I'm really passionate about. I'm also the president of the Ontario South Coast Wineries and Growers Association, which encompasses Norfolk along with other neighboring counties. And so I'm really passionate about trying to raise awareness of this area for growing grapes and making world class wines.
And so winemaking, like what draws you to it? Why are you making your whole life right now? And why winemaking in Norfolk County?
Well, I guess you could say it's one of the best agricultural products you can make.
I agree.
It's something that you can preserve, and like even after the crop is finished, you still have to work with the crop that you were working out in the field all year round. And when you put it in a glass of wine, you have memories of how that year was when that wine was made.
So it sounds like you spend a lot of time on this farm, a lot of time on this like part of Norfolk County. But if you have time to de-stress, where would you go? What do you do in Norfolk?
I definitely like going to the beach. So getting out in the water when it's a hot day is truly nice.
Not too far from Turkey Point, I guess. You can roll down the hill.
Yeah, we got excellent restaurants here too. So which is pretty amazing for the per capita, the amount of people that live in Norfolk County, that we have enough restaurants that you can count them more than your two hands or whatever, which is
really
nice.
good ones too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so exciting to see how our agro-tourism industry is developing in our area, and it's kind of cool to see you guys like working together and really promoting this area.
Well, when you think about farming from what it was in the past, it has to evolve over time though to make it an industry that can support itself. It allows people to be able to figure out ways to succeed or have succession in their family, to go to that next generation, so that way we can have countless more generations of those families living in Norfolk County and growing the things that their grandparents grew.
And keeping the passion alive.
Exactly, yeah.
I thank you so much for your time, Nick. I thank you for inviting me in this beautiful place. I cannot wait to explore some more. And
It's too bad it's not pizza day.
No, I heard that was really good. I'll come back. I'll be back. Thanks, Nick.
No worries. Cheers.
What if there was a place just outside the hustle and bustle, where the beauty of nature was right at your doorstep, inviting you to join in the fun?
Good job, guys. Got it.
What if there was a place where the landscapes were as diverse as the bounty they produced? And the term field fresh was more than just a marketing ploy. It was a way of life. What if there was a place where history and heritage shared the stage with technology and innovation, and success happened without much fanfare, on back roads, nurtured by wise and hardworking people? What if there was a place as lush as an ancient garden that was, for centuries, a place to explore, live, and play? A place of promises and hope. A landscape filled with possibility. And what if this wasn't just a place to escape to, but a place you could settle into? What would you call such a place? Well, we call it Norfolk County.
Welcome to episode 6 of Passionate Folks. This is a blog and video series about the people of Norfolk. We sit down, have a conversation, hear about their passion and what lights them up. I'm excited to introduce the next guest. Welcome to Passionate Folks. My name is Emily. I love to connect with people, having some conversation and learning about people's passion. Today I'm sitting here with Sue. Hey Sue.
Yeah, you bet.
I'm so glad that you took the time to come out and have a conversation with me.
Well, thanks for asking me.
Yeah, so for people that don't know you, can you start with introducing yourself, where you live, where you're from, and a little bit more about you?
Okay, sure. My name is Sue Downs. I live in Simcoe, born and raised here. And I work for the Simcoe Reformer newspaper and started there way back in 1988. So, and loved my job, loved Norfolk County, and was really pleased that Emily asked me to be part of this. I think.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yeah, so far, so good.
Great. So, as always, Sue, I ask a guest to pick a location so we can explore it and discover a hidden gem in Norfolk County. And this one is a little bit different. So, tell me where we are and why you brought me here.
So, we're at Norfolk County Fair. We're at the bottom of the Junior Farmers Building here.
So, why do you pick the fair? What's so special about the fair to you?
I think for myself, Norfolk County Fair is like one of the largest events that happen in Norfolk County every year. It's always been near and dear to my heart. Like I think so many childhood memories. It's all about tradition. For us growing up, at my age, I've only missed one fair in all of my years, and that was when I was in Timmins. So I just love the fact that you can come to the fair. There's so much excitement. There's always lots of things to see and do. Like family would come home during Thanksgiving weekend, and I think that still happens today, right? Like it's all about tradition and all about community, which I feel like I'm pretty passionate about.
Yeah, so I was just going to ask you a little bit more about your passion. I see you a lot being involved in the community and supporting local businesses, and it seems like it's really important to you and close to your heart.
I like to promote local as much as possible. So whenever we go out for dinner, a lot of people go, do you ever stay home? Because you'll constantly see posts on social media, on Facebook or on Twitter, and it's like, you know, we're at the Barrel, we're doing this, we're at Long Point Eco Adventure, we're, you know.
It's so good that you're taking the time to promote those local businesses and support. And I remember when I started my business, you were one of the big supporter of sharing what I was doing. And I know a lot of people have felt the love that you give to entrepreneurs. So I want to thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. But it does make you feel good, and it is important. I feel that, you know, if we can, you know, support each other as much as possible, like it's again, it's all about giving back.
So Norfolk County and specifically Simcoe has changed quite a lot. We are moving in a different direction in our county. So from you like growing up in Simcoe and in the downtown, and what's happening around now, like what's the highlights for you?
Okay, well, the highlight growing up was always, you know, going downtown on the weekend. People that are watching this that are my age would remember you used to be able to go to the Tartan restaurant and Woolworths and different places down there. But I think a lot of the exciting thing that I see now is a lot of the collaborations that are happening within Norfolk County. And one that stands out is, you know, Burning Kiln and then Long Point Eco. And then along came, you know, my buddy Dusty and the guys from Hometown Brew. And then now Joy Cafe out there. So it's really cool to see a lot of the business people working with each other and stuff like that too. So that sort of stuff.
You don't have to go too far. You show up there and everything that you love is right there.
It's like a lot of renewed, you know, it just seems like a lot of positive things are happening within our community, and it's really good to see.
So I know you have a pretty high-stress job, so maybe tell me a little bit more about what you do to relax, calm down, and look after yourself.
Okay, well, I do like to garden. I find that, you know, if you're kind of stressful and a stressful day, you get out there and take it out on all the weeds in your garden. I also like to, you know, walk along the trail from Davis Street and then head out along the 14th or whatever. And you can, like, it's heading right towards Waterford, so you can actually walk from there right into Waterford. I've got a dog that keeps me pretty busy, and then a group of like really good friends that we are going out with each other like all the time and stuff like that.
I know you have a lot of favorite spots in Norfolk, so we already named a few, but if you have a day off and you want to explore Norfolk County, is there one specific place that you actually love to visit that you feel just at home?
I would say for myself, it depends on the day. So if it's just something that I want to go and do a walk or whatever, it would be my trail on the 14th, because it is kind of private. There's not, you do run into a lot of the same people and stuff like that. I also like going down to Dover, and I'll sit at the cafe and kind of look around there.
You can watch a little bit?
Yeah, that sort of stuff, and then even take off and go to the pier. Actually, my mom has a bench there for my grandfather, who was a fisherman down in Port Dover as well too. So it's kind of nice.
Memorial benches.
Yeah.
Very cool. It sounds like pretty much everything you need is right here.
Why should I go out of town? Why do I need to go out of town? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff here that right in Norfolk that we need. Yeah.
I'd love to hear your passion for Norfolk and how well you support the local businesses, and just, I see you at fundraiser and you're always involved in your group of friends and supporting whatever is happening in the county. So we need more of you, Sue, and Norfolk. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I think this little chat, I'd love to get to know you better and hear more about your passions.
Well, thanks very much for allowing me the opportunity. It was great. Thank you.
I am Tom Pursley. I work at Titan Trailers. I manage the shop and design, build, program robot cells on the floor to hand off to operators to build trailer components and assemblies. I knew I always wanted to work with my hands growing up as a kid. I never wanted to be stuck behind an office doing paperwork for the rest of my life, and it really interests me to build something and see the final result when you're done.
My name's Angela Simon, and I work for Annex Business Media. We are a trade magazine publisher. We produce 65 trade magazines for
Council
diverse
Committee, we will reconvene.
industries. So everything from aviation to firefighting to
Yeah. Who controls the music? We are back. May I have a motion to reconvene an open session? Councillor Van Driesche, second by Mayor Martin. Those in favor? That's carried. That's at 1:43 p.m. I'll ask the clerk to read the motion from the closed session item with respect to the housing proposal, Haldimand Norfolk Housing Corporation.
The open recommendation is that council receive report HSS 23070 housing proposal for information, and further that staff proceed as directed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have 3 consent items today. They are item 4.1, the 2023 Accessibility Compliance Report, CS 23-182. Item 4.2, request for transfer of reserve lot, Talbot Road, Delhi, report CS 23-172. And 4.3, special event 2023-51, the Waterford Lions Santa Claus Parade, report CS 23-183. Would any committee member like to pull any consent item from the questions or further discussion? May I have a motion to approve consent items 4.1, 4 to 4.3 as presented? A mover, Councillor Michelle, and Councillor Doug Buttons, the seconder. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. We have no deputations today. We have a presentation, and Brandon Sloan, General Manager of Community Development, will provide an overview, and then Angela Hogeveen, General Manager of the Norfolk County Ag Society, will provide her report. Mr. Sloan, you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And if I could ask our fine clerks, they're getting our presentation up. So good afternoon. I wanted to provide an update on one of our economic and community infrastructure investment pilot projects, Amplify Norfolk. If we go to the next slide, the presentation is going to provide a brief overview of the staff report that updates on some of our Amplify Norfolk efforts in 2023. along with some of our upcoming activities for 2024. Next slide, please. So we just wanted to highlight a few items from Norfolk's efforts related to marketing and some of the tourism aspects about Amplify Norfolk. I'll note the full report is included as attachment A to the report, so we won't go through too much of that. I do want to point out and note that in the report, page 4, there's a graphic where I've identified there is a typo. And I just wanted to identify the Norfolk all-in contribution on that page 4 of the staff report graphic is actually 107,000, not 167,000. And that results in the calculation where the estimated overall impact of Norfolk's investment is an uplift of 17.5 times our investment. If we go to the next slide, just briefly about our marketing efforts, there was a number of activities that were undertaken to prepare and launch Amplify, along with support for the Fairgrounds Festival, the inaugural Fairgrounds Festival. Some of this included stage banners and promotional material, along with volunteers and a number of organizing, and we'll touch on that in the next few slides. So if we can just zip to the next slide, please. That includes some of the samples of the banners, the promotional material. These are assets that we have now that we can include and reuse for other Amplify sponsored events into the future, along with those that can be used for tourism promotions and supports in terms of our Visit Norfolk approach. Next slide, please. So to help with the initial launch of Amplify Norfolk as a concept and along with supporting for the initial events that we had in 2023, we conducted some digital and some targeted marketing. Some of these included specific ads, there was articles, there was promotions that we deployed, and also helped drive people to the event organizer site as well. We also included some e-newsletters, e-blasts with promo codes, social media, digital media, and more. And if we go to the next slide, our target market was, from Norfolk's perspective anyway, we included the GTA is really where we were after, along with some of the larger urban areas in the surrounding drivable distance. And that included and followed up on our Find Your Folk campaign that we had launched last year. And so that's why we may not have had too much locally, but we really were trying to get our brand recognition and do that campaign elsewhere to get that recognition of Norfolk here. And what we found is for a relatively low spend, you can actually reach quite a wide audience. And there was a fair amount of successful links that clicked through right to the website. I think it was over 75% went directly to the Fairgrounds Fest website in this case, and then in other cases, the other event provider. Over 650,000 impressions. And if we go to the next slide, I just wanted to highlight another big thing that Norfolk did with the first Fairgrounds Festival. And to kind of help launch this, we helped organize and work with the Agricultural Society and the event provider to facilitate a Find Your Folk zone, we called it, or Find Your Folk Meadow. And that included a second stage that had a lot of local artists and local musicians. And we also included local tourism providers that had tents there. They had interactive activities there. And it really also gave it a family-friendly atmosphere. Norfolk staff were there. We volunteered our time. We really promoted, and we saw a big uptick in our Visit Norfolk app and a lot of social media. And we drove people to shop, stay locally. And I can say firsthand and attest that we interacted with a lot of people that had never been to Norfolk. They didn't even at first even know where Simcoe was. And then as soon as you start talking to them and show them what we have and find out what they're interested in, the eyes are lighting up. People are coming back. Next slide, please. This is a bit of information from the Agricultural Society's reporting on this, and it kind of just is a key thing because we were interested in where people are coming from. So we just wanted to highlight that with this Amplify grant sponsorship, it helped bring some national headline acts to Norfolk, which was a main driving force for people to purchase tickets and attend. I think around 30% of people came from over 40 kilometers away. I know there were some that even came from out of the country. Staff did a bit of follow-up to this. We also contacted many of the local hotel accommodation providers. We do have a few, and most indicated they were at full occupancy that weekend. or a couple. I think there was 2 that were not entirely full, but they were higher than their average for the rest of that same month in June. Of course, in the future, we would like to see all these numbers increase and continue to have drive more need for overnight accommodations in Norfolk. That is one of our objectives. We also prepared an official recap video. It's currently on our YouTube channel. It's meant to show the kind of proof of concept and attract future investors and sponsors and festival goers. Does have some good rock music background, so I'm not sure we're going to show it right now in the council chambers, but there's a link in the report or in this presentation. Encourage people to go see that. Along with, you have shorter reels that we've done that we can promote Norfolk and next year's or Amplify initiatives. Next slide, please. Just briefly want to touch on the Amplify grant-sponsored launch event in 2023. Which was to have a larger live entertainment aspect to Pumpkin Fest in October. And on the next slide, we haven't received the final reporting from the event organizers yet. That's expected later this month, but we do have some preliminary information to share at this time. Further to what we talked about in terms of the digital marketing efforts, we were able to build on that, and now even getting to the broader audience, getting near that 1 million impression mark. It was nice to see 35% of the ticket sales were from outside of Norfolk. I even interacted with people that came from Buffalo, so I know that some folks were there from further afield. We had a diverse lineup. The event organizers did have to make some adjustments given the weather, but after experiencing a packed house within the facility and a lot of positivity at the event, it's opening up some new possibilities for next year. Next slide. We did hope to get this going earlier this year, but we're now turning our attention to opening and promoting the grant program for 2024 events. Next slide. Now that we have these larger event venues launched, we're looking to provide support for other and preferably new activities in 2024 that would be open to other not-for-profit organizations and to our local chambers, BIAs, Board of Trade, that they could apply for. We've developed a guideline document. We have an application form. All this outlines the eligible organizations and the expenses. All of that is attached to the report as Appendix C. Next slide, please. What we're looking at is live entertainment. Of course, live entertainment doesn't have to necessarily just be music. This could be comedy, arts festivals with a live component, theater and dance, sporting events. We're looking at economic impact with preference being outside the core summer season. It could be one or more events, could be a series of events throughout the year, and hopefully that will continue to grow and have some longevity and go into the future. What we're looking at, and hopefully it's clear, and this is how we've worked forward with the large event providers, is that this is a matching grant. So this is up to 50% of eligible expenses. So just like with Fairgrounds Fest and the Pumpkin Fest, for these ones in 2024, the event providers got to provide at least 50% of the funding or more. And speaking of funding, on the next slide, we're looking at kind of a tiered or range of grant level categories. I kind of went with having different levels versus just an overall amount, as the intent originally was doing the large audience ones, and now we're looking for small and medium-sized events. Event providers could stack this with other grants as long as they're not other county grants, but if they seek other grants through other ones that are out there, that would be okay. They could also apply for some additional funding. What we're thinking, we kind of added this accessibility funding piece to make these events more accessible for all people, including those with disabilities. So that might include, barrier-free or assisted devices technology or viewing areas or something to assist with that. And the way we're looking at setting this up is that if the grant application submissions don't exactly align with this, that with these grant categories. So let's say there's maybe 3 really good submissions in one funding area and there's none in another one. The selection committee would have the ability to consider that and maybe recommend an appropriate level of funding that should be considered. And when we go to the next slide, we can see that We are looking to launch this roughly the first day of winter and have it open for about 6 weeks. And then in the staff report, the recommendation is that the Economic Development Advisory Committee would be utilized as the review committee. And they provided some valuable feedback on when I was preparing this program in the last couple months. Through EDAC, we would make recommendations to council, who would decide in March. The eligible events could occur then roughly the first day of spring in 2024 to the end of winter 2025. So throughout a year, we want to capture all seasons, but with the funding deployed in 2024. And any successful recipients would have to provide a report within 60 days of completion. The other part is that Norfolk, although we have a lot of the marketing and promotional assets, we could do some supplementary work in 2024 to help out with promoting overall Norfolk. And when we go to the final slide, 2024 does represent the final year of the Amplify Norfolk pilot project. We will provide a final report at the end of the program. And maybe before we get into any questions, now would be a good time to turn it over to Angela, who's here to provide a few words about Fairgrounds Fest and from the Agriculture Society, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Brandon. So if Angela can come to the podium, please, and you can give your report. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Martin, council members, and staff. I'm Angela Hogeveen, General Manager of the Norfolk County Agricultural Society and the first recipient of Amplify Norfolk funding. From our perspective as the Norfolk County Agricultural Society, together with the support of Norfolk County, this initiative absolutely accomplished what we collectively set out to do. The goals and objectives of increasing tourism spending and visitation, facilitating the development of local artistic talent, augmenting economic recovery, and supporting long-term economic growth are all things that we feel we can demonstrate. Our staff has completed a thorough review of the event, examining ticket purchaser data, postal code mapping, and attendee surveys. Through this, we know approximately 38% of the attendees are defined as tourists, according to the province of Ontario's definition, having traveled 40 kilometers or more to attend. 18% of survey respondents reported never having previously attended an event on the Norfolk County Fairgrounds. 81% of survey respondents indicated their intention to definitely attend this event in the future. Over 8,000 people attended and took part in the two-day festival. We were able to add over 1,800 new purchaser emails to our customer database. We engaged the support of 12 community partners, 16 local in-kind partners providing marketing support, no charge or heavily discounted services essential to the event's function. We provided business opportunity for 72 artisan food and beverage vendors, brought 21 local musical artists to our community stage platform, engaged numerous local service providers and contractors, provided employment opportunities for temporary staffing. We activated 123 volunteers to support this event, 43 of them new to supporting our events entirely, and more than 30 of these new volunteers have signed up to support additional initiatives with the Norfolk County Agricultural Society. We generated over $60,000 of our own marketing value in addition to the support of the county and the program, all heavily branded in the Amplify Norfolk identity, largely concentrated outside of Norfolk County, aimed at bringing people in. The Amplify Norfolk funding was able to de-risk the addition of this event for us. As a not-for-profit organization, NCAS is a careful and risk-averse, and this funding has been the key to providing the confidence for our board, management, and staff to move forward. June is a time when our grounds are not normally active. We have the acreage, the infrastructure, and the expertise. We have the resources in terms of full-time staff, a volunteer base, ticketing software, web platforms, audience database, contractor and service provider relationships, and most importantly, a model that works at the Norfolk County Fair and now through the first Fairgrounds Festival. Amplify Norfolk gave us the financial push, the support, and the motivation to be able to move forward. The inaugural event generated nearly $444,000 in revenue. through vendor fees, ticket sales, alcohol sales, merchandise, and sponsorship, including the $50,000 support of the Norfolk County Amplify Norfolk funding. Event expenses totaled over $416,000, with a talent and production line item of $245,000, costs of security, temporary staffing, marketing supplies, event rentals, site services, and ticketing fees. These figures do not consider the increased regular operational expenses, including maintenance, insurance, and the salaries of the full-time staff that took on this massive additional workload. This is the launching phase. We're getting an entirely new event off the ground. A music festival with a continuing legacy does not begin overnight. Having the commitment and direction of the Amplify Norfolk sponsorship into 2024 for one more year allows us to confidently plan, to heavily invest our own time and our own financial resources in continuing to build on the framework and proof of concept that we were able to start. We're able to prove that this event can continue to grow, is financially and logistically viable into the future, and can be sustainable to continue bringing new people to experience Norfolk County, building on the momentum we've created. This event would not have been able to happen to this scale without the 2023 Amplify Norfolk funding, and planning for 2024 Fairgrounds Festival is well underway. We continue to be committed to this partnership, working together towards shared goals that will extend well beyond the end of this funding project. So on behalf of the Norfolk County Egg Society, we thank you for your support, and we look forward to continuing.
Thank you. You're right on 10 minutes. Have we questions for either Brandon or our deputation? Mayor Martin first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start with our deputation. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for all your work at the festival. It was amazing. Right out of the gate, I'm wondering if I can put you in the hot seat and ask for your genuine comments on what was helpful from Norfolk County and what was not. What would you change? Because if council doesn't hear about it, we won't be able to address it. So from your perspective, maybe it's marketing, maybe it's resources, maybe it's staffing, maybe it's the timing. What would you change and how can we improve?
I think there's a lot of support that was very valuable. So marketing reach, support in terms of just developing the brand, developing the identity, and working together to get the message out. The visual resources that were created, those things were all extremely helpful and supportive. In terms of the day-to-day functioning of planning the event, there were some challenges in that, as I mentioned, we have a formula, we have a full-time staff, we have a system that we work in, and we didn't necessarily require the day-to-day task-based support on planning the site layout and those types of items that we do. And I think that's why we were chosen as a partner, because we do have that expertise in our own home. So those things were less helpful. And I think trusting those grant recipients, whether they be large scale or small, have been chosen to receive that funding because there's a faith in what they can produce. And I think that would be a great path forward to provide the marketing support, to provide county resources in terms of permitting or road closures. And in our case, we're private property. I'm assuming some of these future events may happen on what is, municipal property. Those types of resources, of course, are helpful. But I think trusting the people who you've put your faith in to produce these events is probably a clearer path forward, in our case, at least.
Okay, thank you for that. And so you've had a chance, obviously, to review the new application. Do you have any comments on that? Is it more aligned with the infrastructure that you have at NCAS to perform, or is there any wiggle room in there or things you'd like to see amended if you had a successful event a second go around?
I think that the application moving forward is a lot more in line with other granting applications and provides a lot more flexibility and freedom to the recipient to perform in the way that they intend to and use their vision forward, as long as it aligns with the program objectives and the KPIs and the goals can be reported against. I think that it's a much clearer approach to fill out an application and then fill out a report with parameters, and everybody's getting the information that they expect.
Okay. And you were able to secure other community dollars. It wasn't just, your own contributions coupled with Amplified Norfolk funding from Norfolk County. So is it safe to say that money came because there was a financial commitment from Norfolk? Like, in your opinion, would you say that other funding came to you because of that de-risk element was also brought to the table by Norfolk County's funding? Or do you think that was irrelevant and you would have brought in the same amount of contributions from community members?
No, it was absolutely relevant. And I think because of the fact that the county was backing us and the whole program had been publicly promoted and there was a lot of faith behind it. We have a history of putting on good events, but we've not done a music festival in the summer, aside from, 10 years ago, Gentlemen of the Road, which is a different situation. So I think 100% the idea of the Amplify Norfolk support, the funding from the county helped to get us off the ground and raise additional funds.
Okay, and then my last question for you is, I don't want to try to take any credit. You do host concerts and have been in the concert and live entertainment industry much longer than Norfolk County has. So you do a very good job at that already. And I know that is something, again, you have the infrastructure and the staffing and you do. It is a part of your plans to continue with that, as I understand it, in the future. So how important is it to you for Norfolk County to continue in this lane? Or is it irrelevant? Are you able to do this like in future years to this? I know you mentioned this particular last event, not to the same scale, but is it imperative that we continue making investments in this way for you to be successful in the future, growing what you already offer, or no?
I absolutely think, the partnership, and we can publicly put out this, joined effort, the branding, all of those things certainly help the strength of the event in the public eye, whether it be from sponsors or consumers. I think that it's really important. Again, we don't have the challenges being on municipal property, but I know a lot of other recipients probably benefit from the support in that way as well. We absolutely, and I know I mentioned it, would not have moved forward with this event without the support of that funding. And I don't know that my board would have been as quick to vote to move forward again without the momentum that we've started based solely on that Amplify Norfolk funding. So I think it's endlessly important, especially in starting new directions. And I absolutely think it's important for tourism and can continue to build this brand. We're finding in our conversations with musical artists moving forward, it's a small world and people talk, and we're starting to become a destination that artists are interested in having conversations about that maybe a few years ago they wouldn't.
Okay, and I asked that question just based on my own personal opinion, not representative of council's position. But if this was to continue, I really don't. It was never intended to be a long-term initiative, and I don't believe in that either. So my hope and my goal would be that we support community groups so that it's a catalyst for becoming independent and not needing us in the future. And so I want to make sure that we're spending our money with the biggest bang for our buck, and that it, I guess, lays a foundation, which you already sort of have. I'm trying to not take credit for the work you guys do already. Lay a foundation that can then slingshot other groups forward into having these events years into the future without Norfolk County. So that's essentially what I'm getting at. Is it a requirement? Is it needed? Is it, another year going to be able to elevate where you go in the future and create that longevity for live entertainment?
I think, nothing, again, happens overnight, and this is the start, and helping to grow that seed is exactly what we're aiming for. And we hope to continue, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, be bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's that initial start for us and for other groups that I think is essential to get that ball rolling and continue to grow and be independent.
Okay. Thank you for coming, and thanks for an absolutely awesome event.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Angela, thanks for coming. My question to you is, and I looked, you said your revenue was 444,000 and change, I guess. My question is, in that is our grant, and is there any other major grants in that figure? Major? I'm sure there's minor, but anything major that you?
We received provincial funding retrospectively, so we received the funding in July, post the event, there was some provincial funding through a grant.
How much?
That was $65,000.
65,000. Okay. So, and then your costs were 416,000?
Correct.
And so a little bit of net profit?
We didn't consider in those figures our salaried staff and our regular maintenance. So at the end of the day, it's not entirely profit, but that's the way that we view our different events as we look to get them off the ground. So we consider it a success.
Yeah, and then, sorry, going back to the 444,000, how much of that was ticket revenue? Any idea?
Roughly half, just under half. I believe it was about $200,000 in ticket revenue.
And have you had a report to your board on that whole Amplify Norfolk program?
Yes.
And what can you comment what their ideas or what their comments were? How did they like it?
They liked it. They believe that we should continue to move forward and grow on what we've started. Although it wasn't a massive financial success, they understand the big picture, and they're in favor of continuing on to grow this event moving forward.
Okay, and I'm gonna kind of on what the mayor alluded to. If we did not provide you with a grant, do you think it would have survived?
In the first year,
Yeah.
I don't think it would have got off the ground. We wouldn't have had the motivation to make a
Okay.
choice and take the risk.
But what about this year coming up?
Would we plan to continue?
Yes.
I think we are hopeful and have an expectation based on conversations that funding has been committed. It is important to our plan, but we do intend to move forward.
Thank you very much. Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to Angela. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for an absolutely awesome event. I know that there were certainly some hurdles that you had to jump through over that period of time, but it turned out to be absolutely terrific. So well done, and thank you to you and your staff and your volunteers that made that happen. A couple of questions I just kind of want to pick up on from what the mayor had said. The whole concept was to de-risk the event at the beginning, to sort of create the framework of how this works moving forward, and then kind of launch you so that you're able to kind of move forward on your own. So I guess my question is, as you move forward beyond year 2, because I think you're obviously it's still in the infancy, where do you place the value in terms of what Norfolk County can bring to you? Is it specifically on the financial side, or is it on, the weight of the brand of what Amplify Norfolk is, and the relationship and the hurdles that we can help you to overcome? How would you separate that, I guess?
As you mentioned, I mean, it's in its infancy, and we would expect and hope that this year we will see an increase in what that revenue looks like to create a sustainability. We're, of course, also applying for additional funding and grants through provincial and federal programs. Moving forward, I think it's important that aside from financial commitment, we do continue to partner, because I think building this brand and having the support and having our mayor on stage to introduce bands has a value outside of any financial value in showing that we are working together, and that Norfolk County as a whole, not the Ag Society, not the fairgrounds, but Norfolk County is this entertainment destination, and we're all working together.
Perfect. That's sort of in line with what I was thinking, so I appreciate your comments. That's helpful.
Any further questions? Councillor Michelle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Angela, great presentation. I'm very proud of you. And I really think I like the comment that you made about the mayor being present in all of these things. It really makes it a really Norfolk event. And I really think that this is going to have a great future. So thanks very much for all your work.
Thank you.
That was a great question, Councillor Michelle. Moving on to Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Chair. Are you looking for questions just for the deputation right now, or do you want them for Brandon too right now? Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to miss the chance to ask Brandon. Thank you. I'll wait.
Anyone else for a question for Angela? Don't see any. Okay, you may be seated then, Angela. And we will now move over to Mr. Sloan. Mr. Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Chair. So Brandon, when we when you had the first presentation, or at least the first one that I was at the table for, a lot of the focus was on, how this is going to, I guess the county's investment was supposed to help with tourism and economic development and spin-off, and you said bundling and these other things. So I have questions about that. I'm wondering specifically with the Find Your Folk Meadow, what was the feedback from those participants?
Through the chair, just for clarity, maybe the feedback from attendees or the participants, like the other tourism providers that we had.
Your exhibitors,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call them. But yes, I'm speaking about the people that we had in the meadow.
Yeah, through the chair, that's a good question. Not being the project lead, I don't have the detailed information in terms of any follow-up survey to each of those ones, but some of the feedback that I do recall is that there's a lot of benefit to those that were doing the workshops. So some of those event providers had the workshops, and then they had some follow-up. So like particularly the yoga was a very good one, and that had some follow-up. I think there were some other ones that maybe there is more of an interest in a different position or location of where they were, could have been of better benefit. Generally, overall, it was pretty positive, especially on the second day. I think there was some more advantage on the second day in terms of higher audience. Sorry, I don't have any more detailed survey response from those providers than that.
So the reason I'm asking is because, again, that the county's investment was supposed to be the benefit to the bundling. So did we bundle?
Through the chair, I would, if we wanted to take a really good introspective look at it, I would say that the bundling could be improved. Working with the local accommodation providers, we try to do the best that we could, but in terms of the timing of when ticket sales are or bundling, we've learned some lessons from that as to how we can improve things for the future or things that can be offered. So far, that's why we did a little bit of follow-up with the local accommodation providers. With this particular one, it didn't really work out that camping was necessarily a possibility, although we did contact some of the campgrounds just to see if they had a little bit higher usage, and there was a little bit of that. To be honest, I think it may have been advantageous if we could do some follow-up surveys even with some of the local businesses just to see what kind of uptick. I know there were some anecdotal discussions about that, but I don't think I'll look back in some of our files that we have on the topic, but I'm not quite sure if we had a specific follow-up with specific businesses to see where it went. But some of the benefit, well, of course, with working with the Agricultural Society on the event is that they had I think over 70 local vendors there, and then they've got the feedback from that and it cascaded. The other part that we did was the Find Your Folk vouchers. So that was kind of launched that weekend as well, where we provided that kind of shop local. If people were from 40 kilometers away, they came in and then they could redeem it either then or until November. So the intent was to encourage people to come back. And so that just closed in November. So we're doing some follow-up analysis to see how much usage there was of that.
Okay, thanks. Actually, you've led right into my next two questions, so I'll get with the accommodations first. So you mentioned that there were 3 out of 5 range from 97 to 100%. Were those occupancy rates directly related to this event, or were they already full?
Through the chair, to be honest, that's hard to confirm whether or not they had previously booked or were they booking as part of attending the event.
So I guess that my question is, what is the relevance of that information in the report?
Through the chair, I know that our staff member did follow up and contacted them, and the information that they had is that there were accommodation sales and attendees that were there for the Amplify event. To be honest, I can't recall if 100% of the occupancy was for the event.
Okay. With the voucher program, could you just give me a rundown of that? Because I've had it from one of the recipients of the vouchers, and I want to make sure that I've got the full story because I have questions there. So, what was the nature of the voucher program?
Okay, through the chair, I'll do my best. So there were different tiered amounts that individuals, so there was a few approaches. One, that there were some promotions ahead of the event, that if people came for Fairgrounds Fest and they were given a promo code, that they could purchase these Find Your Folk vouchers. And depending on how far they were away, they would get an incremental amount. And then that amount they could use towards the local vendors that were either at the festival, or there was building up an inventory where they could use it at other local businesses within Norfolk after that and redeem them. And then the intent being that's a little bit of the incentive. It's not quite the same as like London or Ottawa, or these other places. They gave $100 visa to people if you were a tourist and you came into town. By having the vouchers, including like up to $50 voucher, then the intent is one, they've been attracted and they're there, and then two, hopefully they either come back, or three, they're going to spend more than that $50 or that $20.
Okay. So I guess my concern, of course, is always, not always, but often, because we say these things to our public that, Norfolk County's in a financial position where things are tough, and we just did the 12% increase to water rates, and people are upset about that. So essentially, with this this voucher program, Norfolk County essentially gave tourists money to go spend at businesses.
Through the chair, I believe that there was some incentive provided for people to come to Norfolk to spend locally.
Okay. The 107, is it 109 that you want to spend on, what is it for this 105 for the grants for this year? That's in addition to the 68,000 that's already the council's being asked to consider for the grant program next year. Is that correct?
Through the chair, the intent is to allocate 105,000 of the 125,000 2024 funding towards the grant program.
So again, the total numbers that Norfolk County at this point council is being asked to allocate for grant funding is $173,000.
Through the chair, there are agreements with the two event providers that is utilizing the 2023 funds. So what we're looking at is for 2024, so the remaining 125,000 for 2024, to allocate that and apply that for this grant program for the other organizations to apply for. So it'd be 105,000 of the 125. Yep. We would retain 10,000 for doing the additional marketing, project management, materials, promotions, and likely we're currently projecting about 15,000 surplus at the end.
Right, but what I'm asking is, this is on top of the other 68 or whatever it was that McGinty was here about a couple months ago or whatever, right?
Oh yes. Through the chair, that's correct. Sorry, I wasn't drawing that comparison with the community grant program that's targeting the other items.
So altogether, though, what we're being asked for as council is to approve $173,000 in grants.
Through the chair, if it's okay, council had already passed a resolution and decided about the Amplify funding for the 3 years a few years ago, in 2021. So that has already been identified from the council initiative reserve. And so that's what we're looking at allocating from that funding that is already there. For the community grant program, I believe that's the one where there is currently 34,000 and staff are recommending as part of the budget process to take that to 68 for 2024 funds moving forward.
Okay, that's my questions for now. Thank you.
Mayor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to jump on Councillor Berry's comments here. Can we back it up and discuss the funding? Because yes, hypothetically, we've committed to this type of a program with funding coming out of that reserve, but my understanding has always been that it's a council decision to release the funds. And I also understand that we didn't release the full amount of funding. So I'm hoping you can walk us right back to the original resolution of the former term of council, the original financial commitment, what was actually spent, what is out, what is remaining, so that I'm understanding. Please.
Okay, through the chair, I will do my best. So there is a council resolution that was committing $125,000 over 3 years. And that was originally 2021, 22, and 23. There was a follow-up report that because 2021, nothing was spent, and that year was part of that year was used to just get the project going, and there was a committee to help figure all of this out, that it was bumped back to applying that money in 2022, 3, and 4. I might be off by a year, but I think it's 2022, 3, and 4. Nothing was actually physically spent in 2022 because we did secure some grant funding for our staffing, salaries and benefits, and any of the work that we had done. So the amount to this project in 2022 was 0. There are agreements with the 2 main event providers through the Norfolk County Agricultural Society and the Old Town Hall for doing the events in 2023. And that is cascaded into 2023 and 2024 using the 2023 dollars. So that's when was mentioned there's commitments there. You heard how much that was utilized for the Fairgrounds Festival. So there was $50,000 for the event that happened in 2023, and then the same amount for 2024. The amount for the Pumpkin Fest was $35,000 for the 2023 event, and then that would be applied also to the 2024 event for $35,000. We don't have the final report, but we do have information that the full amount was not spent in 2023, given some of the changes. So under our current agreement, that would flow over into the 2024 event. But what we are asking for is an updated proposal for what would occur in 2024 from both of those event providers, and following this new grant program submission application. In 2023, I believe that, and this is somewhat identified in the financial services comments in the report, but that does include the salaries and benefits and the amount that was done from the project lead to help do everything Amplify related is in there. And I believe that's $55,000. $7,500 they've accounted for advertising, and the promotional supplies and assets of $19,000. So from our financial services perspective, the costs to date are $167,000.
Okay, so to be clear, we committed $85,000 in 2023, and we are committed to $85,000 for 2024.
That's correct.
The request is to put the funding aside, to change the funding for Amplify Norfolk and have the grant funding for the smaller events. What is the ask of council for Amplify Norfolk if there's already a commitment made?
Through the chair, and that's, I'm not necessarily sure if it's an ask or it's just wanting to make sure that we are reporting and showing how the funds that were previously identified and approved are being allocated and being utilized. So the summary of where we're at now, but then also for 2024. Our request today is that we are about to launch the grant program and that the Economic Development Advisory Committee be the selection group and that council would be deciding on the individual recipients for the grants for 2024. And then at that time, I guess council could decide to award none, some, or all of those grants for next year utilizing the Amplify funds.
Okay. And so the discussion points around using the council initiative reserve, again, for clarity, is that because council already committed to that or because you're looking to use more funding from the council initiative reserve?
Through the chair, that is what council had already committed to previously in that resolution. And so those, I believe, are 2021 dollars that were from the council initiative reserve, and we are not requesting any additional funds right now.
Okay, I misunderstood that, so I won't go on the soapbox about staff recommending spending out of the council initiative reserve that is reserved for council to spend from. Okay, then with that, my comments would be, I would hope moving forward, we have a revamped program that supports another event like what we saw at the fairground. I'm not entirely convinced that the resources and staffing, especially hearing some of the comments here today, is necessary moving forward. And I don't know if that's a good use of dollars. We're not in the music industry here at Norfolk County. So I don't have any clarity on if that's continuing or not. I would also like to say, for clarity purposes, I am entirely displeased with how we as in Norfolk County, handled Pumpkin Fest, not the community members. That I think that we should have been prepared much sooner, much earlier, and I don't want to see that happen again moving forward. And I personally, on a personal level, I'm not entirely sold on the smaller scale events either. We're not in the music industry. There's a proposal coming forward where we're going to discuss some of the work plan items coming out of tourism and economic development. The plan was to host a couple big events that would focus on accommodations and tourism and spending, and I saw that happen. I don't know that we need to double down on the grant funding that we've already allocated, unless I'm missing something or there's, something that is right under our nose, but I'm not sure that that's the best use of the funding. And I had an additional point that's fleeting. It's gone. So I might have to come back, but I would like clarity on the staffing resource element moving forward.
Sure, through the chair, if I can maybe try and address a few of those items. So one, definitely from Norfolk's perspective and on the Amplify Norfolk perspective, we are 100% wanting to see these events and activities identified and confirmed much sooner. 4, 6 months or more, including where we go with or where the event provider is doing with ticket sales and promotions. That's something definitely learned from these events and something that staff have pushed for sure. There were some items related to confirming the approach with the Pumpkin Fest and in terms of any agreements and things that were needing to be in place and to what the actual event was happening with the event provider that we needed to partner with, that we were awaiting confirmation on. The resource that was utilized from this initiative, the project lead position has completed. And there was, and currently, no intent to identify or utilize the funding for any additional resource. So basically, we have the Amplify assets. We have launched some items. We're looking to launch this next piece and just provide the supplementary work with any existing resource. I guess I'm one of the last people involved in the initial creation or adopting this initiative, but we're not necessarily looking at any additional resource towards that. We are looking at a program whereby, and we are adopting the approach of how to do the grant applications and how we as a grantor are involved in it. And so it's a bit of a different approach from, and we've made that adjustment from what happened in 2023. Okay.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, my last comment was the Find Your Folk vouchers. I also don't think that that's our lane. And just to be clear, so that I don't get in trouble, or Councillor Huffman knows, I do not classify Old Town Hall and the Waterford event as a smaller event. I think that was a worthwhile initiative to go forward with. I just think we needed to get better organized on our end. Thank you.
Councillor Duthie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to Mr. Sloan. Brandon, if we were to do a do-over, what are the top 3 things that we would do differently?
Through the chair, great question. And in some of our marketing report and even the report that I have from the former project lead, we do have lessons learned, and we had some project debriefs and including with the event providers. So identifying clarity on roles and responsibilities early and upfront, and including through any grant agreements that exist, that would be one of them. Providing our role of support and more of the focus on getting some of the metrics of how the tourism piece, like the local spend and the accommodations, has played out from our perspective, and having the event providers conduct the work that they do.
Thank you. So I guess the next logical question is, have you factored that into the grant program for 24 and forward?
Through the chair, yes, definitely.
Have we had any groups that are planning events reach out asking about funding streams, knowing that Amplify Norfolk is sort of available?
Through the chair, yes. And we expect there probably will be more, but I've distributed at least one letter that we received just since the report came out and was publicized. But we've had some others contact throughout Norfolk. Actually, it's kind of good to see that there are folks that are looking for doing events or possibly new events in 2024 that are awaiting any launch of this grant program.
Thank you. Did I hear you say that we Amplify Norfolk grant applications, they wouldn't be qualified if they were applying for one of our community grants, right? There's no crossover there.
Through the chair, that's correct. Or any other grant that we might have if we happen to have any other grants.
Perfect. Did I also hear, and I guess I'm curious, are we looking to ask the existing grant holders, so the 2 events that we partnered with this year, to apply via the grant program again?
Through the chair, we have existing agreements with them, but the approach would be to follow whereby they are providing a proposal that's aligned with this new grant program. So we've outlined the questions and the information and the budgeting and things that are needed in this 2024 grant program. So if they can provide similar information, but we don't have to necessarily redo everything that we've already kind of come to agreement on.
Okay, perfect. So I guess that would be my comment, is I don't know that I want those organizations to go through that process again. They've basically, to me, that is changing the rules of the game while the game is already in play. So I'm not a massive fan of doing that. And I would echo the same comment as the mayor had in regards to some of the smaller events. I don't know, based on how this project came about back in 2021. It's not my understanding that was the direction that this program was meant to take with the funding. So I think that we should be thinking on kind of a bigger scale. We've started something. Let's see if there's an opportunity for us to continue to have that spiral moving forward. But I think that's my comments for this point. Thanks for your report.
Back to Councillor Very.
Thank you, Chair. So I got a couple more for Brandon there. So I guess I kind of tailed off last time. So we don't know exactly what the impact on the accommodations was. We don't necessarily know what the impact of the meadow or whatever it was. So again, going back to the bundling, which is one of the main reasons that I think the county put in the funding in the first place. Do we have anything from any of the participants that suggested any kind of, I don't know, benefit, I guess, from the county being involved in the tourism capacity beyond the event providers?
Through the chair. So we do, the staff involved, there is some spreadsheets that does have the tracking for the accommodations and the vouchers, and there's some follow-up. I just apologize that I don't have easy access or full knowledge of it.
There, we have some kind of record of what the impact was somewhere.
Yeah, the individual contacted each place, identified how many were occupied, what the percentage was, why they were there, had some follow-up calls, but also with some of the providers as well, and also those that the businesses that benefited from the voucher program. So I know there was a number at the Fairgrounds Fest that there were some that they were very popular, but then also we were doing some follow-up ones with some of the others that were outside. So we've got some tracking. I just mentioned that the overall program just closed in November. So and unfortunately we don't have our project lead anymore, and I haven't myself dug into the details, sorry.
Okay, so my next question actually is for Al, then I'll bounce back to Brandon there. So I've heard a couple times here that this is not necessarily an ask, but that the money's already committed and so on. If council decided to not pursue this, is that something that council can do?
I would say the following three, Mr. Chair, that we've got council direction to proceed in the manner we're proceeding with. If it's a desire of this council to change direction, it would be a reconsideration, and someone would have to put that on the floor, and council would have to decide and direct staff accordingly.
Okay, so thank you, Al. So it's not an ask, but it's not an ask. I mean, there is some wiggle room here if council is not into this. I guess the last question I have is regarding the report from the Old Town Hall. It's 2 months since the event. There's no final report. Was there a parameter for a deadline for a final report included when that money was granted? Because that's a long time. Like I said, I've worked on a lot of grants and I've never had a final report that was allowed to be submitted 2 months after the event.
Through the chair, it is a 2-month deadline, and it is expected by the end of the week, so on the 15th. We did have so with each group, we have a 30-day interim report, which is where I have some of the information that was in the presentation and the report from their draft interim report. Mm-hmm. And they're just doing some of the what we were told at that point in time, some of the final financial accounting, and then we would get and putting together the final report that is due this Friday.
So when will council be able to have some kind of information that we see from that report? Like an update to this?
Through the chair, we could look at if there is any other additional updated information, providing that in an appropriate form. I hadn't considered yet exactly the format of doing that.
Okay, well, I want to know how we did. I mean, so it was very nice that Angela came, thank you again for that, and came and said, look, they generated $440,000 and here are their expenses and here's what their net was. Like, that's all really good information. So that when people ask us as counselors or as senior staff, what are we putting our money into? We can say this. That's kind of what I'm getting at here, is just to say, well, you know, it all went well. Okay. But what are we getting for the taxpayers' dollars that we're putting in this? That's all I'm asking. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying I want to be able to tell people, you know, even with the council reserve fund, we can say that's a reserve and that's a different account. Well, that still belongs to the Norfolk County taxpayers. That money came from somewhere and it was collected from taxpayers on their tax bill. So that's what I'm trying to get at here, is what are we doing with the money that we're putting into this project? What is the benefit? And is it worth doing again, or are we just sort of saying, well, it's a nice thing, so here's another 100,000? That's where I'm going with this. So I was hoping that we would have a sense of, you know, what came from this that was beneficial.
Yeah, through the chair, I guess if there's a few other comments to provide about Norfolk County's, you know, investment into what I call community infrastructure and the growth of our community. It is a bit of a challenge I can see on the one hand of where the dollars are going to versus what directly, or in this case, sometimes indirectly comes back. So we've got the Ontario Tourism, the TREAM as to how you calculate it, and you get these numbers that, okay, it's like 7 times the amount of spend that someone came at the event is what they got. And then when you factor in everything else that they did that day or that weekend, plus the other investments that went into it, like Fairgrounds Fest was 17.5 spend. We don't have that number yet for Pumpkin Fest, but when we get the report, that's part of what we're looking for. There's even more benefit beyond that of what this is doing for whatever we call the brand of the community. But we're competing with everybody for future talent and growth, and for having like quality of life and a great community of what we have in Norfolk. And we need to show that and bring other people here to see that, so they can want to move here, live here, visit here. Like, this is part of our overall economic development. There's places that spend millions on this. Like, all these municipalities around us are investing significantly. There's places that have teams that do this and do events every week, and we're competing with them for labor and for talent. And so this is like our small little matching partnering amount. And sorry to use the word small, that was relative to other communities that invest millions. I'll stop there maybe.
Okay, so I'm going to stop there too. I just want to leave a couple more things, and since I'm a counselor, I get to say it last. So places that spend millions, they have millions to spend. We don't. So that's one of the concerns I have. We talk about we can report on our investment that we made, and that's fine. But to me, part of that report on the investment has to be the return on that investment. That's what I'm trying to get at here. And sort of where I'll leave it is yes, I understand that there's some great things that happen with Norfolk County's brand, and I understand all that. And yes. However, I still have people in my ward, and I'm sure you all do, that are really concerned about the finances and are really concerned about their personal finances. And yes, the brand is great, but no one can pay their water bill with Norfolk County's positive brand. So that's where I'm going to leave it at that.
Okay, I have a long list of speakers here, and I'll start off with Councillor Michelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just maybe touching on this topic, because I guess a little bit ago we mentioned the comments that and the suggestions that were made around this during the previous term of council. And I guess through you to staff, Brandon, I'm just kind of reminded by Councillor Huffman, but I'm recalling it more as I think about it. I thought that we had discussed during that time the involvement of some private entities to help with all of this, offsetting some of this public money. And I'm just wondering if you are able to elaborate on that.
Through the chair, yeah, I also do recall originally that there was some commentary about with Norfolk's commitment and investment that there may be the ability to secure other private sponsorship. I know that the program and how it actually was deployed is, evolved in a way where really Norfolk is kind of the grantor, or we're kind of a sponsor. So it's a little difficult as a sponsor for us anyway, as Norfolk, to go and get sponsorship of grant sponsorship. Having said that, we did apply for grants to help out. And as I said, that helped out offset our costs in the first year in terms of success on one grant. I don't think we received another grant that we were applying for. We have tried to contact sponsors. We have a situation that also, when we were talking earlier about the relationship with the event providers, is the event providers are securing sponsors as well. And so what is the balance and the role of Norfolk pursuing and looking at sponsors versus the event provider and sponsors as well? Hopefully that helps a little bit.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Brandon. But and I'm just trying to take in mind Councillor Very's comments about some way to take some of this off of the taxpayer, and perhaps I think Mayor Martin mentioned earlier that we're not in the music industry, which I quite agree with, but maybe there are players in the music industry who could help with these items.
Yeah, through the chair, I know we've conveyed in the report that Norfolk's investment, we capitalized 17.5 times of what Norfolk's investment was, but certainly we can continue to pursue those avenues.
Okay, thanks. And Mr. Chair, just one more thing quickly. Brandon, one of the things that I think we all recognize that Norfolk County is sorely lacking in is upscale tourist accommodations. I'm wondering if there's not some way to just wrinkle that voucher so that it can really accurately identify those people who arrived here to stay overnight for that event.
Yeah, through the chair, thanks for that comment. I know we do have some base information about that, but that's a helpful comment.
Councillor Van Andrieschie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Again, a question to Brandon. I want to go down to the simplistics of it. We were allocated $375,000 for this initial plan. God, I can't turn around. Is that correct? I'm looking
Through the chair, that is correct.
now, and I look at it to be simple. We spent $167,000 last year. Correct?
Through the chair, that's how much was spent, although there is a little bit of that was not completely done from the one grant.
Okay. But the point being that we allocated $375,000 over a 3-year period. Do you anticipate another overage this year?
Through the chair, there has been no budget overages so far. And in fact, the way that we're organizing it is that there should be a small surplus of that 375 when we're done this program, subject to how many grants. If we don't receive too many grant submissions or don't award as many grant submissions, then that could be more surplus at the end of the project, at the end of 2024.
Okay. So you're anticipating staying within the 375?
Through the chair, we're anticipating being under.
Being under, so just a little bit of surplus there that could remain. That's all. I just wanted to go through the tables, through the math, and see where we are. So because I don't want to see this thing go over budget by any means, and but there is a commitment here for next year at least. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Chair. My questions, comments, I think there's a lot of intangible positives when you're dealing with something along this event, and your ROI is different. Sometimes it was measured in the report that I read that there were a couple motels that were 100% capacity, some that were much higher than normal, and we're getting there, kind of thing. I think I will echo Mayor Martin's comments. I know that there was a bump in the road in regard to Pumpkin Fest event, but the bump got smoothed, and it was a fabulous event. It was well attended, and it was great. I'm not too big on I'll be honest, with the Find Your Folk meadow kind of thing. I think that just kind of, I just didn't care for that one so much. And the voucher is, but I guess we'd have to get a little bit more in terms of understanding a little bit more about the voucher piece.
Yeah, through the chair, and thanks for those comments, by the way, and through the chair, if it helps, the Find Your Folk voucher program was not directly from the Amplify Norfolk funding. This was a broader Norfolk economic development, tourism, and marketing program, And I believe the numbers are in the report of $3,000 and some that we utilized from our overall economic development budget. It was not from Amplify. We just deployed it because we had an opportunity at Fairgrounds Fest to start it, and we ran it through the end of post Pumpkin Fest.
Okay, great. Thank you for that explanation. So I'm committed in terms of building community infrastructure, and I know that people may or may have not compared this to Gentlemen of the Road, which I think we need to come to the conclusion that that was clearly a once in a lifetime event. To replicate that will be virtually impossible. It's just, the band was hot at the time, the community, it was a 1 in a million thing. So I think that there are some great possibilities with adhering to proper timelines and making sure that we get the best quality in terms of our entertainment. And that would be a good way to start. So those are my comments and questions. Thank you.
Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. I do remember the bit of the discussion a few years ago when we first talked about this idea, and I think I brought up the fact that I've never been to a live music concert in my life and probably never will be, but I was willing to support this because it was something new, something innovative. Let's try it and see what happens. And I've been listening quite patiently to a bunch of people whose advice I respect, who probably have attended these in the past. And it sounds like it was a great event, but now we got to talk about whether financially it was the right choice. And, I'm not getting a lot of answers on the data we have. Like, one of the things we were looking for was get more people to stay overnight. This becomes Norfolk County becomes a destination. But, we can get the data from the motels and, okay, they're all at 95% that weekend. Well, what are they on a normal weekend? If they're 95% booked all year round, well, then this didn't make a bump. If the normal rate is 50%, then it made a difference. Were all the restaurants at capacity that weekend, or were they just at normal capacity? We can't measure that bump. So I think we need a bit more detail on the numbers to make a legitimate decision. We heard from the Agricultural Society, $440,000 in income, $416 in expenses. So is that $416,000 of new money that flowed into Norfolk, or did $400,000 of that go out of Norfolk to pay out of town the musical acts and things like that? Did the money all leave right away, or did it stay here? And I think the quote was at 17.5 times the return on investment, but that's just using standard Tourism Ontario numbers that says if somebody comes and spends $1, it really means $17.5. We need a little bit better detail on this. So I'm not sure if there's any question in that, but it is a comment, and I will sit and listen to the other opinions of the people who enjoy these live music concerts to see whether dumping $50,000 of Norfolk County's money into an event is worth it, or 125 in total on a bunch of small events, whether that's worth it or not. But I can't really, from the data I have in my head so far, could not make that decision on whether it's a good return on our investment.
Through the chair, maybe I can provide a brief answer to the question. So as we identify in the report, the monthly occupancy rates in Norfolk is 75% in June. And so that was our comparable that in theory, typically there'd be 75%. And then we've got 3 that were pretty much 100% and others that were in that 80+% range. What we actually found, and that's where our project person dug into it more, is that we were seeing a lot more of the bed and breakfast and the other like non-hotel motel accommodations. The typical amount here we put as 40%. I don't think I put in the report how much it was, but I think if I recall correctly, it was about 77 or 78% were actually in the B&B. So there was like a huge increase in people using those type. And maybe I just won't provide a comment on maybe related to either the availability, quality of our accommodations, or what we have available, or what people are seeking now as their experience when they come in. But that's some of the information that we do have available.
Mayor Martin, one last time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure how long your list of people to speak is, so I'll offer this and then you can cut me off. I'm happy to move the staff recommendation before us with a few conditions. Understood. So I don't know if we want this formalized as some amendments to that or additions, or if it can just be understood as some direction. I feel as though we need to finish what we've started and we've made commitments to the community. I feel as though not following through on another year of the larger scale events as we committed to when we originally endorsed this project is a poor use of taxpayer dollars the former year. So given that, I would like to give the endorsement to staff to continue on the path that they have been on, which is the direction from council to do 2 years of large scale events to create momentum for these groups to be self-sustaining in the future without us. I don't want to be funding this next year after that, after this funding's gone. And so, but my kind of sticking points or that moving forward, I do not support the Find Your Folk voucher. I don't care if staff want to have the meadow and the space. I think it's a good exercise to be out in the community, and I actually thank our staff for volunteering at the event, but I don't support the voucher. I don't support the staff resource, but that means that the next time we come around the table, we're not going to have the metrics on hotel accommodations and so on. Although we don't have them, I would agree with my colleagues, we don't have them today. We should have had a little bit more on that, but those numbers won't be there. And I do not support the $5,000 grants. I think that the community members can go through the existing grant system where we've carved out the $68,000, $69,000. I'm sitting here questioning the $10,000 grants. I don't know if it's going to create enough of an impact. And the reason why I can get behind this is, you know, we've made these commitments. I think it's responsible to follow through on the spending and really set the community up for success. But we also pulled a lot of money out of tourism and economic development under the former term of council and made next to no investments in our community for a couple of years here. So I think we owe it to the community to follow through on the project. But I would be really interested in comments from council and or staff on the $10,000 grant level. If it's matched, it's $20,000. How big of an event are we really hosting with that? Are we leveraging what we're hoping we're going to do? And are we really truly setting a group up for success at a $20,000 event? I don't know. That's not my wheelhouse. But all of that being said, that's my stipulation for moving forward. We're not giving out the Find Your Folk vouchers. We're not hiring a staff resource. We're trusting our partners, and we're not moving forward with $5,000, potentially $10,000 small scale live entertainment events.
Did you have a comment, Mr. Sloan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I can confirm that it's not our intent to do the voucher program, the Find Your Folk voucher program, and that we do not have any staff resource that's assigned to it. So really it's myself and anyone else that's willing to volunteer their time to assist with deploying the grant program for next year. And if the intent is to target larger ones and to not have the 5K grants, if we just get clarity, if the intent is to just not have the amount or reallocate that amount to the 10, 20s, or 40s, we could do that. It does go back to one of the original reports had the large, medium, and high audiences that we were targeting. And I think that's where we were kind of circling back and looking at having the smaller one for the small audiences and then getting into that mid-range for the medium audiences. I was going to pull what those numbers were of the like there was actually like a KPI of the number of attendees that we were targeting. I can't recall it off the top of my head. But I would generally agree that something at least 10K is really getting into that. That's more of a sizable activity because we're plus the 50%.
I'm not opposed to reallocate. Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm not opposed to reallocating those the $10,000, the two $5,000 grants elsewhere, but I'm not the expert on that. I'm not convinced that it's enough bang for our buck. I don't know. So I would almost look to my colleagues, look to staff to come back to us at a later date. I don't want to just say spend it because it's there. We don't need to. We could remove it. I know that there's, Councillor Berry probably has more experience with that specifically. So if anyone else wants to comment and jump in, I'm just not interested in the small, 5,000, which equals a $10,000 event total here.
Before I look for a seconder for Mayor Martin's motion, I'm going to call on Councillor Duthie for his opportunities.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And I would actually be happy to second the mayor's motion. I don't have a question. I have some comments. So if you will accept the second, then I'll provide my comments based on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a question here. I've heard a lot of things around the table, and I think obviously there's been a commitment for 3 years to this project. And I don't, Councillor Van Den Riche, she kind of summed it up for me. There's 375,000 over 3 years. And I guess my question to Brandon is, what will we see in the 24 operating budget? Will we see a figure of what's left and as a commitment on how it's financed, or will we see nothing? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, through the chair, there would be no impact to the 2024 levy budget. And it's just a matter of how we record what the previous commitments for the council initiative reserve were.
So that's basically a carryover is what you're saying, like a capital project.
Through the chair, similar to that. I don't know if carryover is the technical finance term, but it wouldn't show up as any levy impact for 2024.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Berry, I'm sorry, you've already had 2 opportunities. 2, I've been told by the clerk, yep. Okay. Then I know it's been a great deal of discussion, and that's great. Was there anyone else? No. Okay, before I move on to Mayor Martin's motion, I'm going to ask that, may I have a mover to receive the presentation of Angela Hogeveen, representing the Norfolk Agricultural Society, as information. Councillor Huffman, mover, and Councillor Michelle is the seconder. Those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And now we have Mayor Martin's motion here. Is it the way it's printed in the report here, Madam Mayor?
With some amendments.
Okay, can we get the clerk here to, if you can give us the amendments, please?
Sure. So I actually, as a question for the clerk, I don't know that we need them in full. So Brandon's already committed to no Find Your Folk vouchers. He's already committed to no staff resource. So I think the only amendment required would be with the elimination of the $5,000 grant. And my question was to council, does that and or the 10,000, does the $5,000 and $10,000 level grants get reallocated into creating other larger grants, or do we scratch it? And that's just a hill I'm not prepared to die on. So I would like some input from my colleagues.
Councillor Berry.
Happy to contribute to the debate and not ask any more questions. Okay, so just doing some really super quick rough math. If we talk about what the cost of the one at the fair was, according to the deputation, it was 416,000. She said about 8,000 people, correct? That's $52 a person. I don't know how you would value a local person versus bringing a tourist, but we know that it cost $52 a person approximately to have this event at Simcoe. So if we have to do $5,000 grants and it's some matching, so we're talking about at least 10,000, that's 192 people that we might entertain for $10,000. You can double that, call it 200. You can double it to 400 for a $10,000 grant. So those are the kind of numbers. But again, I don't know that we need to spend that money, because if you do small events, it's going to be fewer tourists, correct? It's going to be more local people. So I don't know. There's so many events that already do music for local people here. And it's not to say we shouldn't do more, but we have the Friendship Festival, we have Friday the 13th, we have Canada Day has stuff. Like, there's so many things already going on that I don't see personally much value, if any, in attracting tourism with small amounts of money.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'll go back to some of the discussion we had originally, and conceding again that I'm the guy who doesn't understand this, but I think that was part of it. It's the go big or go home. You need to bring in somebody who is famous, and if you want to see that famous group, the only place to see them on that weekend is in Norfolk County. The small scale local bands. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff going on around the county, but the whole concept behind this proposal, as I remember it, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but was it to bring in those big names and come on to Norfolk County, and once you've seen all the other cool stuff that when you came to see that big name band, you'll come back. And so, yeah, what is the point of $1,000 grant, a $5,000 grant to entertain 100 people in your back patio? That happens already. We want to entertain the 8,000 at one time because that's the only place you go to see them, right? So maybe we can just, the grant system can stay there and see what proposals come forward that everybody potentially could come and ask for that $40,000 level, and let's look at them. But we're not going to waste our time trying to dish out $5,000 grants, right? It's just not a return on our investment. So.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I just want to provide some context to that because I agree with, and I second the motion that the mayor made. I agree with the comment about removing the 5 and 10s. I would say that that money should be reallocated. If I wear my entertainment chair hat, sorry, Ange, at the Norfolk County Fair, I will tell you that if you think of the bands and the artists that we typically have at the fair, those cost between $75,000 and $125,000 just to bring in the act. So think about the band. That ticket itself is worth about $75,000. Then there's production on top of that that's anywhere from $25,000 to $35,000 just for backline staging and all that stuff. So a $5,000 grant, even if it's matched, doesn't have a whole lot of impact on bringing some of the big scale stuff in. So with that in mind, I say redivert some of that money. I know we've talked a lot today about sort of the value for the taxpayer dollar. I think back to Ms. Hogavine's presentation where they brought in 8,000 people. 38% of those were tourists and 18% of those had never been to an event on the fairgrounds before. If you consider that, the Norfolk County Fair and Horse Show is the 4th largest fair in Ontario, brings in 100 and something thousand people each year. If 18% of those people that attended hadn't been to an event, safe to say they probably haven't been to Norfolk County before. So I think that has a lot of impact in and of itself in terms of what we're doing for tourism and bringing people here. And Councillor Huffman was right when she talked about intangibles. The Gentlemen of the Road stopover tour lost money. Norfolk County operations, businesses, hotel providers, restaurants, all made money and had lasting impact from that we still see today. I still see Gentlemen of the Road beer cans in places. I have a wine bottle in my office that has Gentlemen of the Road on it. But the event itself lost money, and they were only able to do it because the band decided to take a cut in their talent fee for putting on that event. So again, using that lens, I think that there is value for money there. We have committed. I think that there is a long range vision to what we're trying to do here. I think it's important to note as well, some of the things that were talked about today, the data that we don't necessarily have, some of the roadblocks that we encountered along the way. I'll say this rather delicately, but the staff resource that we assigned to it may not have been the best person or best fit to deliver some of those things that we've pointed to being problematic today. And I fully anticipate that can easily be resolved. So I'm in support of the motion as amended by the mayor and think that we've already made that commitment. Let's take it forward. Let's make it more successful and bring more people to see our amazing community.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I'm just hoping for some clarity on what the motion is going to read then. So there would be $10,000 worth in $5,000 grants, and there is $10,000 worth in $10,000 grants that we are going to reallocate. Are we creating a $30,000 grant? Are we creating a $25,000? How is that? Do we want to leave that to staff to just come back? Do we want to leave that for the economic the EDAC committee to be creative with its use if the intent is to spend it? I just would like some clarity.
Mr. Sloan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It would be very advantageous if we could get that direction today. If the intent is to reallocate that $20,000 into the $20,000 grant value, so we would have three $20,000 ones, that's a very easy update to deploy our program and launch it that first day of winter.
Okay.
That would help.
Councillor Hubman.
Thank you, Chair. You gave the answer that I was looking for, so that's good. I'm clear with that.
Councillor Berry.
So then, I don't know if I have to make a separate motion, or if I can amend it, that let's say we'll do 2 40s and a 20.
Say that again, Councillor Berry.
Okay, they'll either ask to amend that motion, that with that money, I'll either make my own motion if I have to, or whatever is better, or to amend the existing motion to say that the grants will be two $40,000 grants and a $20,000 grant instead of a 10 and two 5s and two 20s and a 40. Just do two 40s and a 20, and it equals 100,000, which is the same amount.
Go back to Mr. Sloan. Any comment with respect to that suggestion?
Through the chair, that is also very doable. Thank you.
Okay, so how shall the motion read? Mayor Martin, I'll give it back to you to whether you agree with that or not. Friendly amendment.
I don't disagree with it. I'm just a bit uncomfortable that I'm arbitrarily picking the total value of grants for an entertainment industry that I have no business setting figures on.
You're not, though. Sorry, through the chair, you're not, because that amount's already been allocated here in the chart. So rather than spreading it out over several grants, I'm asking that we leaving that 5,000 for the AODA is fine. If you take that 5,000 off, you're left with 100. So I'm breaking up the 100 into two 40s and a 20.
Okay, that is fine with me as the mover, and I'll just amend it myself so there doesn't need to be an amendment to an amendment and so on. If that's okay.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Okay, I'm going to ask the clerk's department to provide us with the latest recommendation. This is a recommendation, and perhaps it will be pulled and dealt with again next week. I don't know. Go ahead, clerk's department.
Tracy, if I may help then. So if you look at page 11 of the report, there's a table that has 2, 4, 7 different programs identified. And so the recommendation can stay, and we're just add an additional recommendation.
Sorry.
At the table.
Sorry, Chair, can I just clarify just exactly what I'm meaning by forward? Because I hear a lot of muttering about the 240s.
Okay, I will let you, Councillor Berry.
Okay, thank you. So if we do a $40,000 grant, that's a minimally $80,000 project, right? Because we're requiring another 40. So that's going to be a bigger show, not a huge show, but a bigger one. So if we do 2 of those, and then if we do another 20,000 grant, that's a minimally $40,000 project. So these are substantially larger. That's what I'm asking. So I'm not saying that they can have 20,000 to do a $20,000 show. It's 20,000 plus their at least 20 to have at least 40. It's 40 plus their at least 40 to have at least 80. That's what I'm trying to go for here, just because I hear what are we doing and what is this for? So that's the idea, is to try to have 2 larger, not this large, but larger, and 1 sort of medium size to accommodate what Brandon was saying earlier. That's what I'm going for here. So anybody that wants this money still got to come up with at least 40 if they want a $40,000 grant. That's what I'm asking. You can do whatever you want.
Huffman, I'll let you make a comment there.
I was just going to say, thank you, Chair, that we would just put in the recommendation that there would need to be matching funds. There we go.
Which is in the report.
Yeah.
Recommendation already. That's all I was trying to do.
Okay. We'll just wait for the clerk's department to come up with something here. It's been a lot of discussion, and it's hard to wrap your brain around this, really.
If I could, just to get some clarification. So do you want the actual recommendation that is existing in the report as it stands, but added in that the grant funding of X amount of dollars
105,000 remains.
Yeah, if I may, Tracy, I think the additional recommendation could just be that the staff proposed matching grant program, because in the table it's 6, adding up to $100,000, would be replaced with 3 matching grant programs, 2 of $40,000 each and 1 of $20,000. So we're reducing from 6 to 3, and the amount still stays the same.
Sorry to be technical, it's actually $105,000 because we're keeping the accessibility $5,000 grant in there, so.
Yep.
Okay, you're going to put it up on the screen?
Okay, so then it would, what is existing there, and then the amendment would be that.
If you could read the whole
Yep, I can
recommendation,
read
would
the
be great. Thanks.
recommendation, sure. That staff report CD 23068, Amplify Norfolk, update and next steps be received for information. And further, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee be utilized as the selection committee with recommendations to council for the Amplify Norfolk grant program intake for not-for-profit organizations applying for 2024 events as outlined in report CD 23068, and that the staff proposed matching grant program be replaced with 3 matching grant programs to be 2 at $40,000 and 1 at $20,000.
Thank you. And that is moved by Mayor Martin and seconded by Councillor Duthie.
Sorry, there's a point of order there, plus the $5,000, which is the AODA accessibility funding. So the grand total is 105,000.
And Mr. Chair, just asking the mover, are we not including the commentary about the Find Your Folk vouchers?
Through you, Mr. Chair, in response, no, staff have already determined they won't be doing that and the staff resource isn't allocated.
Okay. So is everybody comfortable with the recommendation as noted? I'll call the vote. Those in favor? Those opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Unbelievable. We are going to have a 15-minute break, folks.
design engineering, manure. We have a very diverse set of magazines that we produce. I'm the production manager and I oversee the creative department in 2 divisions in Simcoe and in Toronto. We have 14 designers that lay out and design the magazines. When I started in this industry probably 26 years ago, everything was hand done. Now everything's so automated, done on the computers, and that's probably been the biggest change for me.
My name's Phil Wiersma and I work for Rasson Services. We're an industrial contracting company, so we do some custom fabrication and mechanical and electrical installations and repairs. We've built large pump skids for the oil sands out west. We've done some major factory overhauls and expansions. We do some fairly large jobs for a fairly small company. I've always liked to take things apart and put them back together, and so this is just another stepping stone.
My name is John Brock Picard. I'm 20 years old and I work at Ramblin' Road Brewery Farm. Here we make 8 different kinds of Picard's Extreme kettle chips. It's all on one line. The potatoes come in from the farm and we put them in through the hopper. They get cleaned and they go through a grading table where I inspect them and cut off all the rotten spots, pick out the bad ones. And then they go through up to the cutter. They're cut into kettle chip size and they're fried and salted. I guess the best part about my job would be the sampling. When the fresh potato chips come off the line, nothing beats them.
I think young people should be strongly considering a career in manufacturing. Skilled trades, there's always going to be a large demand for that, and they're high-paying jobs. The actual job is getting better as the new technologies come into play.
The skills you need to do my job would be definitely graphic design, computer skill. If you have any kind of video or inclination to do video or any of that kind of stuff, or web design, that's also a huge asset for what we do.
I would say if you like to take things apart and put things back together or build things from scratch, or if you have even a creative mind, manufacturing is a good way to go.
Welcome to Passionate Folks, a vlog and video series about the people of Norfolk. People that are involved in our community, people that bring a lot of energy. So this is about a conversation, this is about their story. So welcome to episode 3. Welcome to Passionate Folks. I'm Emily. I love to dig in people's lives, ask questions, and learn about people's passion. Today I'm here with Adam. Hi, Adam.
Hi, how are you doing, Emily?
Great. I'm happy that you're here, taking the time to sit down with me today. So I've known you for a little bit, small community, but people that don't know you. Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
So my name's Adam Van Passen. I grew up here in Norfolk County. I was born onto a farm and I got to work on that farm growing up, which was a great learning experience. From a young age, I got to understand what hard work was and what it was to be close to nature. So that was very cool for me. Growing up like that, my dad also was a counselor for Haldeman, Norfolk, and he had a big part in shaping what is today Norfolk County. So I got to see that, and watching him and experiencing him work through that really sparked an interest in me for the county and what it could become.
Great. So not like the typical kids. We hear most high schoolers like just ready to get out of their hometowns and go explore the city and something else, and it doesn't sound like that's your story.
Not at all. I heard a lot of kids saying that they wanted to move on to bigger, better things, and I just really didn't have that feeling. I always thought the biggest, best things were here in Norfolk to start.
So I asked you to pick a location today, and you bring me to a place that I don't know very well in Norfolk. Yeah. So tell me about where we are and why you picked it.
This is a very cool spot. I know a lot of people drive by it, maybe on their way to Long Point or into Port Rowan, but this is Boose Harbor. So I grew up on Boose Harbor. My best friend, his family owned this place. So I grew up here hanging out, relaxing, boating, going out fishing, going out hunting, I worked here for a while. I did some volunteer work for the Shriners Club here, doing some chicken barbecues. So I really got to experience Norfolk and how community comes together. There's a lot of people that take up their summer residence here in trailers, and it's very cool to see all these people that are coming from other places in Ontario to enjoy what Norfolk has to offer. So it's just very cool to see that and experience it. One very cool fact about this place is that Moose Harbor has the largest amount of indoor boat storage on boathouses for all of the world.
The world?
Yes.
Wow, that is crazy. This little place.
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool. Something to be proud of.
I would absolutely say so.
So we've been talking about nature. I know you spend lots of time outside. You bring me to a boating place where you like to fish and spend time. So tell me about your passion. Obviously there's a connection somewhere there.
Yes, absolutely. Especially recently with everything that I've been seeing happen in the world, I'm very passionate about the earth. So I want the earth to be a good place. I want Norfolk County to be a good place. Everything that I love about Norfolk has to do with outside, has to do with nature, has to do with clean water, clean air, fresh trees, everything. So I just really think it's important to take care of everything that we have here in Norfolk County, and it's not an easy thing to do. So
no. We all have to start and do our part. That's the thing, right?
Absolutely, and I'm doing my best, but it does get very difficult. It's easy to make the change, it's just hard to start.
So we were talking earlier about, doing things around Norfolk and visiting places. I know you're a busy guy, like you work, you're a volunteer firefighter. So what do you do to de-stress and relax?
I would say my number one most favorite thing to do to de-stress would be to just get out on Lake Erie. Whether that's ice fishing, boating, swimming, relaxing. It's just such an amazing place. As soon as you get out on Lake Erie and you get away from shore a little bit, you just come out to this different zone.
Other than this place, like where else do you like to visit in Norfolk County? Where else? What's one of your other favorite spots?
I would say that my favorite spots in Norfolk County would have to be broken into two categories. One is nature, being Lake Erie, boating, all of that kind of fun outdoor stuff. And I also like Norfolk's bounty. Before, maybe you had to go out to a place far away to enjoy all of this beer, wine, food, amazing service, but now we can just go out the back door, and before I can drive for 10 minutes, I found something that I can go to locally that's amazing.
A couple of winery on the way here.
Yeah, it has passionate folks in it doing things. Like, it's just great. All around here, there's so many amazing things you can do, and it's just growing, so I love seeing that.
I thank you so much for your time. I love your connection with nature and what you want to do as far as your passion with the environment. I'm in line. We need to come together for this to happen, so hopefully we can inspire a few people with this little conversation here. So
Absolutely.
Thanks, Adam.
Cool. Thank you very much.
We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 7 of Passionate Folks. This is a blog and video series about the people who live right here in Norfolk. I sit down with them, have a conversation, ask them about their stories, their passions. I'm excited to present the next guest. Welcome to Passionate Folks. I'm Emily. I love to ask questions and get to know people better. Today I'm here with Dan. Hey, Dan.
Hey there, how are you?
Great.
Excellent.
Might be you stop by for coffee?
Yeah, well, nice of you to have me. I'm really delighted.
So we already had a good chat, but for people that don't know you, can you tell us a little bit more about you, where you live, and what you do?
Yeah. My name's Dan Fewings, and I was a Simcoe boy, an SCS grad growing up. From 0 to 18, I lived in Simcoe. And then I think I lived in Brantford for a year, lived in Dover for a bit, and then followed a gal up north to Peterborough, or Lindsay, and I ended up spending 28 years there teaching high school. Loved every minute of it. A bunch of different experiences. And when I retired in 2014, I thought, my ma's not doing so well down there. It's going to need some attention. And also followed a friend here, and bingo. And now I live just outside of Simcoe, in between Simcoe and Victoria on Highway 24.
Great, I'm so glad you took time to have this little chat. I want to go know more about you today, and I'm going to be asking some questions.
Yeah.
But first I ask you to pick a spot that means something to you in Norfolk. So maybe start by telling us where we are and why you picked this place.
Well, I love this place, not only for the food, although in my new machination I'm more careful what I eat, so I only have one crepe a week. But I love this place because Jim and Penny, the owners, are good friends. They've hired me to play here. They give the artists freedom to be a little zany here. They're good to their staff. They run a good ship. And I love the outside in the summer. It's rocking. They do a great job getting lots of music in. I think they have music all July, August, and September, like a whack of things. And I also, you know, a few neat experiences sort of got born out here. I have a character, I do the song chef, and they were like the first ones to say, oh, you've got to come in and do it. So.
I love what you're talking about. Like, you're involved in so many things into your retirement that you seem to really enjoy the art. Is that the main thing you're passionate about, or?
Well, you know, I like joy spreading, and like the most rewarding thing I think I do is my gal Rosie and I, after we had a trip to Newfoundland, and after I did a tour of Newfoundland, we picked up on the kitchen party notion, and so we have a little duet called the Kitchen Party Orchestra, and we go to the seniors' homes and the respite center in Hagersville and Simcoe, and we give them the folks their instruments to play with us, so they're part of it. They're getting some exercise, and like that is joy spreading 101.
So spent a lot of time away from Norfolk, decided to come back to Norfolk in your retirement. So tell me, like, if you don't have a gig, if you're not involved in something, like, what do you do to hang out, to relax? Where do you like to go?
Well, I love the geography, so I always like going down to one of the many shores while there still exist.
Yeah, so Port Mercy's a little small this year.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yeah. You know, I love, and
are you a beach guy, or?
Not in the summer, I'm not, but I am, you know, sort of going to the water for answers kind of a guy. Okay. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The Leonard Cohen dimension. And so Long Point was always like hugely special as a kid, you know? I spend a lot of time at the Simcoe Little Theater. That's a great organization, and they're doing fun and they're welcoming, and so I'm going to play coming up that I'm doing. And
you don't seem to have too much downtime, like you seem to keep pretty busy.
Keeps me out of the housework, that's for sure.
Out of the
He's all busy making some ass right now, you know, sewing, you know.
Yeah.
And so.
Is it hard to get artists to come and play here, or? Are they curious about wanting to see Norfolk? And see what
and you know what? Like more people, like house concerts are amazing too. Like and I was never a musician on the road. I did 2 1-month tours with a student, and I had a buddy of mine, Jimmy Boskill, who was a student of mine. He said, "When you retire, we're going on tour." My son is in a band, the May Hemingways, so he traveled lots east. So he booked us from Peterborough to Newfoundland, 24 gigs and 26 nights. Both, you know, but you make, you know, as a musician, you make way more at a house concert and play more concerty, less with people listening. No. People love to play, right? So oftentimes people think you need the applause as much as you need the money. Yeah? And many people are lined up. So it's like, you don't want to do it? That's okay. I've got Tiny Talentime and his brother here that'll play for you, you know? And so people, that's why it's so nice to be in a place like this where you know that their entertainment budget is a really significant amount of money. And there are a lot of places in town here. The 211 does it as well. Even the Norfolk has a whack of music. And it's getting bigger around here with all the, you know, with the craft beer industry, the wine industry. All those places are looking for some entertainment to get their clients in. So I think it's, you know, it's going to be significant. It's just a tricky game.
So music, obviously a big part of your life?
It is a big part of my life, yeah. I think I started when I was 13. My brother handed me a John Prine album, the very first one with him sitting on the hay bale.
Okay, council and committee is back, and we'll move on to our agenda here. We have item 7, communications. We have 2 communication items today. The Western Ontario Wardens Caucus resolution from the Strong Mayor Powers, and item 7.2, the letter from Honorable Kinga Suma, Minister of Infrastructure. Can I have a motion to receive communications item 7.1 and 7.2 as information? Moved by Councillor Banadrici and seconded by Councillor Berry. Any comments or discussion with respect to these 2 items? Don't see any. I'll call the vote. Those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to staff reports. Health and Social Services Division, Ontario Works One-Time Funding Report, HSS 23-065. Going to call on Sarah Page with respect to this item.
Hi, I'm not Sarah. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Through the chair, I will present the report. The purpose of the report, the recommendation of the report is to be received as information. This report was brought forward to advisory committee in November and being brought forward today for information purposes. It will go forward to budget committee in January, and so we'll be able to be reviewed and deliberated at that point. So today, just giving you a high-level overview that in September, the Ministry of Children, Community and Social Services advised the service manager of an opportunity to apply for one-time funding. This funding is cost shared, so there would be a levy impact, which would be split between Haldimand and Norfolk counties. The funding was requested to replace our scheduling tool, which is no longer going to be functional in 2024, and to request funding for a full-time staff for up to 12 months to provide the opportunity for us to continue and to expand our Ontario Works drop-in clinics that we've been piloting since September throughout both counties with great success. Lots of opportunities and a request to expand our services through a number of community partners. So excited to continue to do this work. It lines up exactly with the social assistance transformation of life stabilization, which is the municipality's focus has been since the employment services transformation, and will continue to broaden as we move forward. With that, I'd open up to any questions if there are any.
Any questions for Stephanie here? No. Okay. So, do you have a mover for the staff recommendation? Councillor Duthie, second by Councillor Huffman. And I don't have a copy of the recommendation here. Can I ask you to read it, Madam Clerk?
The recommendation is that staff report HSS 23065, Ontario Works One-Time Funding 2024, be received as information.
Any further discussion to be had? No. Those in favor? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Stephanie. And now we go to the Community Development Division, Economic Development Strategy Implementation Plan. Brandon Sloan's department, and John Reagan is here to speak to that subject. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next item is following up from last month's economic development strategy that was delivered to committee. And this is looking at, and we wanted to make sure that committee and council had the context and awareness of what the strategy and the actions mean for implementation and how this relates to our upcoming budget deliberations. So we have Mr. Regan is here to provide us some more input and see how much council's looking on the gas pedal for economic action. John?
Thank you, Mr. Sloan. Thank you, committee. Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your time today. I want to start by saying the presentation and strategy. If you could just go into presentation mode, or you could read my speaking notes with me, that would just be lovely. Please do not look at the spelling, but I will keep going here. So a lot has happened over the last 5 years, not to mention a pandemic, inflation, workforce challenges, interest rates, housing crisis, and more. So with this, let's get started on the possible future for Norfolk. Thanks, Kevin. So the overview today is we want to talk about the themes, the resources by the goal. I promise I will be done in 15 minutes or less. Review of the priority levels and looking to the future and offering you a bit of a conclusion. Thanks, Kevin. Right now, with the new economic development strategy in hand, Council is about to embark and indeed lead Norfolk on a new journey for a new journey. For the past several years, the department has been operating in perhaps a comfort zone, relying on predictability of constrained budgets and limited actions in economic development. But we know we can do more and yield the desired results. By comparisons, as discussed in previous presentations, the capacity of the department to respond to the evolving economy, the new economy, and the needs of the new and existing businesses of today has eroded or perhaps even stagnated. The county is now facing the challenges associated with the shifting economic landscape, and we know Council wants to address those challenges for the community and to be proactive about helping to create an environment that fosters sustainability and new opportunities. but there are a lot of unknowns. Definitely a lot of unknowns ahead as council changes course, and if in fact you want to. And that can always cause some trepidation as the journey begins. We know too that we're bound to encounter some pitfalls and some new, as of yet unidentified opportunities along the way. That's the nature of business, right? But we also know that Norfolk is resilient and capable of adapting and shifting gears in the direction when it needs to. And council has proven that in the past. An economic development strategy is a roadmap taking us where council wants to go. The secret to our success will be choosing the right vehicle for the journey. Again, this strategy is that reliable Jeep or pickup truck that will take us through those challenges ahead. We talked about this before when we presented the strategy back in November. And it's something we hope you'll keep in mind as we move through the implementation plan today with a leapfrog approach and with council's foot on the gas pedal. Good. The next. I'll keep going. So anyways, the presentation will dive deeper into the action items outlined in the strategy that requires additional funding in 2024 from council and the taxpayers. These items are based on staff knowledge, our research, our expertise, advice from EDAC, and best practices known throughout the ECDEV profession. There are 40 action items outlined in the 2024-2027 strategy. All of the 40 items require additional staffing in order to execute them, as well as maintain the expected level of service for core operations. And there are 26 of those items requiring additional funding in order to proceed, despite the reallocation of some functions. So what that means is we have looked at the budget, our existing budget, we have reallocated, and so this is what we have come up with. So looking a little closer under each goal, this is what you're going to find on your itinerary for this journey through 2024. Goal 1 is support and retain. There are 12 action items outlined in the strategy, with 8 requiring new or additional funding. Goal 2, which is attract, there's 11 action items, with 3 requiring new additional funding. Goal 3 is grow, 8 action items, 7 requiring new additional funding. Goal 4 is connect. There are 9 action items, with 8 requiring new additional funding. With the implementation plan we are presenting today, council can be assured that 2024 will be a year that we begin to condition the organization to undertake the important work of supporting local business and industry for the next 4 years and beyond. It's going to be a challenging trek, but taking the journey comes with a price, of course. And ECDEV, as you know, economic development, there is no free ride. Off to the next slide. So in your package, you would have a detailed report, and you would have had some detailed slides and a lot of background information. So you'll see, for example, that almost half that price tag in 2024 is related to Goal 4, Connect. You'll see that the pie chart in the background document, for greater clarity purposes of this presentation, we wanted to break this out for you and for the public to show that that part of the dollars allocated under that goal are for foundational support. You'll see that in the lighter orange piece of the pie on this slide. This is the Economic Development Coordinator or Analyst role. That's a new position. This is foundational to the implementation of almost every action within this 4-year strategy. We've included it under Goal 4 because this part of the strategy is where council will be investing in the capacity of its Economic Development Department to implement the programs and services under the strategy and to implement some new service levels. This is about having the horsepower to deliver on the actions identified in the strategy. For Goal 2, attract, on the other hand, you'll see this priority is accorded a very small part of the price tag for 2024. Council or staff won't be ready to commit in a substantial way to prioritize under this goal until some of that foundation is in place and until that we have more data to inform the implementation on those actions as well. And they can't do this, meaning you can't, and the ratepayers can't do this all at once. It might be helpful to think of this journey in 2024 in terms of training or conditioning, getting the organization, the department in shape for the larger journey that happens in years 2, 3, 4, and beyond. And I'll be talking more about that towards the end of the presentation. Moving on to look at Goal 1, support and retain, as well as Goal 3, grow, you'll see that both have more substantial but relatively modest price tags attached. They represent critical work that must begin or we're suggesting begin in 2024 if the priorities of the strategy in the subsequent years are going to be achieved. And they are reliant on the investments under Goal 4 to ensure capacity to execute. Delays or areas that don't receive funding will have an impact on the strategy, implementation timelines, and the key performance indicators that I'll talk to towards the end of the presentation. So, the total ask of council in 2024 is $380,000. Of the action items requiring additional funding, we've broken them down to high, medium, and lower priority. We're in no way suggesting this is a menu, but is an option, and as a recommendation from EDAC for us to prioritize even the priorities of the strategy, which I think is a good approach. So the higher priority includes 15 action items, medium priority includes 6 actions, and the lower priorities includes 5 actions. If it's not funded this year or in 2024, then we will be coming back in 2025, 2026, and continuing to ask for those fundings to implement the strategy should council wish to go down this path. What it means not to fund the items on any journey, you can usually find a shortcut, but you'll either miss out on that part of the trip or it'll mean you'll have to backtrack later if you want to pick up that leg of your journey. And of course, this will result in changes throughout your itinerary, and ultimately, you may have to miss out on some of the things you've planned. The same is true with this implementation plan. So if we look at the high priority, 224 is what staff have rated as high priority, and it includes 5 action items identified. The cost, and I'll go into more detail in a few slides, but the cost includes things like doing the survey for the BRNE, software procurement, training, seat licensing, some travel, and some hosted meetings. Goal 2 includes 2 action items, which is to work with the Ontario Food Cluster and foreign direct investment to focus on what we're good at in Norfolk County. One of the things we're good at, which is agriculture and building upon our successes. Goal 3 is about our newcomer squad and local immigration partnerships and how we can keep the immigration population and our new workers, our new Canadians here in Norfolk, and also the quality of life for Norfolk of workers in Norfolk County. Goal 4 includes action items which talk about promote opportunities at business events and trade shows to help build that Norfolk brand. The new FTE for the department of course, is included in this, developing a community profile on the advantages of living and doing business in Norfolk, along with real-time stats for investors, public, council, and staff. The medium priority on this slide, I apologize, that yellow plays tricks on your eyes. I should have rethought that one, but under Goal 1, there are no resources indicated at this time. That's good news. Here, related to pursuing non-tax dollars for delivery of programs. This does, however, involve matching fund grants or matching dollars where municipalities would be required to allocate dollars for such projects. So recently we had the RED program, and those are matching dollars. It's hard to budget for that, and it's hard to come to council to say, oh, let's put $100,000 into a reserve for a possible grant. We also don't want to delay the strategy by saying, yeah, do it only if you get the grant, because I think that sets us up for more failure than success. So, totally went off script there, my apologies. Under Goal 2, we have the action item related to creating a working group table to address innovation through the University of Guelph and Fanshawe College and other post-secondary institutions to focus on agribusiness. We have an action related to identifying cluster areas and new future technology opportunities position Norfolk as an innovation rural economic or education center. Again, there are no resources specifically allocated for this action, but it goes hand in hand with the Rural Innovation Working Group item that we talked about in Goal 2. And these two actions are really tied together. And then finally, under the Goal 4, we see the largest share of the resources are devoted to the branding and advertising, along with the revitalization of our community improvement plan or our community incentives program. So of the 76,000 of this particular segment of the lower priority, Goal 1 takes the largest slice of the pie and would include action items formalizing agreements with local business accelerators, enterprise centers to increase local support, as well as the item related to advocating for federal and provincial funding and other initiatives. Under Goal 3, we have an item related to supporting the downtown revitalization by working with the BIAs and local chambers while continuing to encourage mixed-use development. We also have an item related to working through our partnerships to offer skills training and education programs, including agricultural leadership, expertise, and innovation. And then finally, under Goal 4, we have the item relating to using online influencers to promote and grow our visibility from outside Norfolk and pursuing related grants to support this. And a bit more detail, if you'll bear with me. So to dive deeper, just so you know what you're being asked of today or being recommended to think about during budget deliberations, is to develop that business survey and analysis and visitation program by sector to gather business data and help identify opportunities and trends to grow and support. This would include survey, software, training, seat licensing, etc. Strengthening our relationship and communication with the home builders organizations, developers to stay up to date on opportunities and challenges within the local building and planning industry. Continue on with a bi-monthly e-newsletter to distribute to local businesses with really relevant information that's really relevant to the businesses that have life-changing or business-changing information in them. Collaborate and support with local chambers and BIAs and tourism efforts while gathering information from local tourism entities on a needs assessment. Engage with accommodation providers on potential introduction of a municipal accommodation study. Strategically pursue non-tax sources of funding which align with the priorities as set in the strategy. And I mentioned this earlier. These are matching dollars for grants that we might be coming back asking for money to help leverage those grants, because we will be diligent in looking for grants to help implement this strategy. And then formalize agreements with local business accelerators or enterprise centers to help support that local entrepreneurship support. Under Goal 2 or Attract, consider opportunities for film and creative industry office to start research. Work with the Ontario Food Cluster on foreign direct investment and trade missions to help, as I mentioned earlier, focus on some of our successes that we're really good at. Create working groups and tables to address innovation through the University of Guelph and Fanshawe. On the next slide, introduce a newcomer squad to assist with the integration of newcomers through local immigration partnership and facilitate mentorship for newcomers with an entrepreneurial spirit. We've budgeted $25,000 for this in the first year. Collaborate with partners to develop workshops that promote diversity, equity, inclusion within the local economy. We've budgeted $10,000 for that. Perform a case study on the quality of life for workers in Norfolk. And we really want to do this in 2024 so that we can benchmark it in 2024, complete another survey in 2027 to see if we've actually moved the needle, and that would be one of our KPIs. We want to evaluate the findings of a transit master plan to improve connections with employment and labor force. Identify cluster areas for new and future technology opportunities, position Norfolk as an innovative rural education center, combined with our other priorities. And then through the development process, support downtown revitalization with working with the BIAs to encourage mixed-use development. We put $5,000 in this to leverage new and existing partnerships with government, institutional, businesses, and community groups. Under our Connect, work with partners and senior government to explore and promote opportunities at business events and conferences and trade shows and meetings. We've added $10,000 to this. Prepare a community profile on the advantages of living and doing business in Norfolk, along with real-time stats. The cost of real-time stats is about $8,000 a year, but it's mission critical for site selectors and people wanting to move here or invest here. And create investment packages targeted at various sectors. Determine the Economic Development Department's service levels for capacity to meet the needs of existing and prospective businesses and to carry out the priorities as set out in the strategy. That's primarily the new position. Under the yellow, explore brand opportunities for Ontario's Garden, Find Your Folk, Visit Norfolk, Invest Norfolk, Made in Norfolk, and many, many others. We really need to figure out what our brand is and get it straight, because I don't know if I understand them all, to be honest with you, and I think we need to figure this out. Revitalize and promote Norfolk CIP grant. So this is a great incentive that we know increases assessment, which takes the burden off the ratepayer, on the residential ratepayer, my apologies. In the orange, explore options for online influencers to promote and grow from the outside. We know that we have good KPIs on this as far as how people view our county, how people interpret our county. On to the next one. This is the sticker shock one, obviously. This is all about choices. So you would see in your report a $10 million ask in 2024. I'll be honest with you, I don't know what that number is. I don't think we know. We need to talk to our friends in finance as to how this would even be possible. But this is all about choices and aspirations. And as mentioned, you'll see an estimated $10 million in capital for investment for industrial lands. This is new, and it's just a thought at this point. It's nothing else. It could be less, it could be more, it could be nothing, depending on your vision for employment lands. We have not explored all the options, and in fact, the study that we're suggesting may in fact don't do it. This is also in 4 years. This could be pushed out, or it could be implemented faster, of course. But that comes with significant financial pressures, and it's a long game approach with significant rewards potentially. The purpose of this near and final slide, I promise, is to be completely transparent when it comes to the employment lands development. It comes with a cost, but it also comes with a significant return on your investment. Where will council be on the journey at this time next year? Well, with the investments of 2024 and the associated action items completed or well underway, council will be feeling assured of your progress. I'm confident of that. And along the way, you'll have demonstrated your commitment to support and retain existing businesses and industry. Not that you haven't, but that have built the capacity for their pit crew. That's me and Sue Gardner, who's joined us on Teams here, and Brandon, sorry, to respond to the needs of the community. These come with strong KPIs, our key performance indicators that will show council and the public our success and how we've improved the local economic landscape and quality of life that we've already talked about earlier today. So this is measured in many ways, with some very hard KPIs or meaningful, such as GDP, gross domestic product. Did we move the needle on moving and increasing the GDP? How many businesses did we assist in expanding? Was it 5 or 20? How did council, through their investment, take the burden off the residential taxpayer by increasing assessment of 20 new manufacturers that established here over the next 5 years? How many entrepreneurs did we help by meaningful partnerships and investments? The KPIs are important, and council, you should expect regular updates on what your investment is doing. Some results will be very quick, and some throughout the next 4 years, and some beyond. But know this, whatever we do, we will measure it with solid KPIs and benchmark it, not only against ourselves, but against our competitors. Our 3 big takeaways. As a reminder, what got us here won't get us out of here. We're going to need to adopt some new approaches and tools to face the challenges ahead. We're going to need that Jeep that we showed you at the beginning of the last presentation, as a tricycle is not going to take us to places that council wants to go or the strategy is indicating. Collaboration is a key to unlocking the success for any community strategy. And that is why this strategy includes partnerships with the community as well as our neighbors and supporting organizations. And finally, without an investment to execute it, it's just a strategy. It's just a wish list, and that's it. So to wrap up, we believe this implementation plan provides council with a clear roadmap to drive the future success in Norfolk. It's appropriately resourced to make sure we have the right vehicle and we don't run out of gas before we even get started. And finally, it has a clear itinerary for the exciting journey that possibly lies ahead for Norfolk. Thank you very much. And please feel free to direct all your questions to Mr. Sloan.
And thank you, John. That is quite an extensive report. We'll start with questions and moving to Councillor Huffman first.
Thank you. I'm kind of going to break the rules. I don't have a question right now. I just wanted to say that the report that we received was probably one of the best reports that I've read in the last 4 to 5 years. It was easy to follow. There wasn't a lot of flowery kind of stuff and terms that we don't use on a day-to-day basis. It was a very good report, John, and I appreciate it. And your presentation today, again, was easy to follow, and it was good graphics, and I like that kind of stuff. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I just may, I appreciate that very much. It's certainly a team effort with Susan Gardner, Blair Sylvester, and Mr. Sloan, and so it's certainly a team effort on the report, but thank you so much for that.
Any further questions? Okay, Councillor Berry.
Thank you, Chair. Through to Mr. Regan. Thank you. I also thought it was an excellent report. Thank you very much. My favorite part is the what got us here won't get us out. So I'm glad that you put a point on that. A moment ago, you mentioned some, for instance, numbers, do we help how many of our businesses expand, whatever. Do you have any, I know you can't commit, I'm not asking you to commit to a result, but if you're asking council for, was it 300 and some odd thousand?
380.
Almost 4. Fair enough.
Take the 4, sir.
Now we're down to 250. No, but seriously, so what kind of results, based on what other communities have done or where you've worked before? I mean, what kind of, I know it's hard to commit. I'm not asking you to do that, but is there a range? Like, if we do this, are you going to have between 20 and 50 businesses be able to expand? Are you going to have between this much and this much of new assessment value? Like, as far as the improvement programs, like, where's this going?
Through you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the question, Councillor. Very great question. My crystal ball is broken. It's in the shop at the moment.
Try.
But I will try, absolutely. So what I can promise you, and I do know from experience, that this investment will move the needle. It will see increased investment. We will see an increase of the offloading of the ratepayer tax burden onto commercial and industrial, and because of those investments. In my mind's eye, the 20 businesses, or the 20 manufacturing, I think that's reachable. I honestly think that's reachable through these strategies. And I know I'm going out on a limb, and I know it's going out in 5 years, but I feel confident about that. We really do have a great community. I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I just think we can do a better job of what we have been doing. And that investment will mean results. And I do promise you that. And the KPIs I'm talking about, they're real, they're substantial. So whether it's 20 small manufacturings or one larger one, I'd be happy to take it. I don't know if I can answer it, but I do know that the investment is proven to move the needle. I know that the BR&E program is proven to help businesses expand, and it's proven to attract businesses to relocate to communities. I'm confident of it.
Okay, so as you're unfolding this or rolling it out, or however, and you're meeting with businesses, and it's going very well, how do you resist the pull, let's say, from businesses who or individuals who may or may not fully understand this new plan, or may reject it outright and think it's the wrong way, and think that, oh, it really has to be tourism marketing, and could always, like, so how do you address this, and how do you get around this, or continue to stay on point when there may be other challenges or other forces trying to pull you in a certain direction? Like, again, crystal balling it, but this is going to happen. So how do we know that if we do this and we agree that this is our direction, that in 1 year from now, when you come back, that we're confident that this money we spent, you stayed on this track? Like, how are we doing this?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the question, Councillor Berry. So the plan, when approved, it is about communications. It's about that ongoing communications with our community partners and our businesses and the public. So it's fine to say this implementation and council approved it. That's not good enough, to be honest with you. We physically need to be out there. We have an excellent comms department. We have excellent social media experts. And so promoting the plan, promoting things like the BR&E, not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it, I think is part of that messaging. And so that helps us not only stay on track, I think, Councillor Berry, but it also gets buy-in, meaningful buy-in from the community and our business partners to support us in what we're doing. Now, I'm going to stop there because I'm not sure if I answered your question now.
I wasn't listening. No, it was great. No, it was great. No, it was great. So my last one is, so you've asked for a position to be funded. Does this have to be right at the gate a permanent full-time, or is there room here to do it on a trial just to see if we are getting the results that we all hope for? So it doesn't necessarily have to be 1 year, but is it 1 or 2 or 3? Like, can we try a contract, or do you really think this has to be no, we need to commit to someone long-term, and this is the only way? I'm trying to see if we can get you as many resources as possible, but still hedge our bets a little.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the question, Councillor. Very great question again. So yes, to answer your question, it could be a pilot project, it could be a contract position. It could be a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year position. So it's certainly at council's discretion. My only caution to council on that that process going forward is talent attraction, and from a human resource perspective, in talenting and attracting the talent and retaining them is so important. So by able to offer a full-time permanent position with the wonderful benefits that Norfolk has, and you know, we are compensated well, we are experts, we're professionals, we do a great job. We want to retain that person from not only coming to Norfolk, wherever we bring them from, but keeping them here within our municipality. So my preference would be a full-time permanent position, sir.
Okay, so yeah, that's what I'm hearing. So that is the ideal, but you could still implement most, if not all of this, with a toe in the water, so to speak, as opposed to a cannonball.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, sir.
If I may, Mr. Chair, too, just to supplement that, sorry, and to second what John was saying, like through the economic recovery plan, we've tried that. We were able to be successful on a number of grants and kind of leverage the funding that council had through that for temporary positions that were focused specifically on action items. And that's what we found, is we were able to deliver on those action items and get them done. But a huge challenge with the talent attraction and retention, and you can't just keep going with 6-month contract, 3-month contract, and we extended them, then you get a 3-month, and then do you get more funding? Well, we don't. 6 months, and then we've had talent leave. We're hoping for some kind of decision. I mean, obviously we could look at something over the life of this strategy as an option to just deliver on the strategy, 3 years or 4 years, boom, let's do it. But we're hoping for hopefully some decision, at least in permanently moving forward.
Yeah, and thanks for that, Brandon, through the chair there to you back. I guess where I'm going with this is not that I want to necessarily take the least expensive road or whatever, but it's more about it's so new and it's so different. And if we're not on track in a year, what does it take to get out of it? And that's where I'm going. It's not about not valuing the work or recognizing the need for it, but I'm prepared to support you all moving forward with this at the department, provided that there is, if we're going to go this full almost 400,000, that there's a way to sort of say, it didn't work out, we need to cut our losses now. That's all I'm getting at.
Sir, Passon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to be a little bit more blunt, I guess, because I've harped about this before, but implementing this policy, can I say that it might be premature until we get some other ducks in the row? Because I keep repeating this, but we can go looking for new business to come in, but where are we going to put them? Oh, we don't have any land. We don't have any place for your workers to live in. All those other little things that they might want before they show up. So we are working through planning on identifying some areas for possible urban expansion, get the home builders to start actually building homes. The Dover water supply is just about online because poor Mariana was worried that she wasn't going to get any questions, but maybe we can touch on that. But, the sewage treatment plant needs to be upgraded. We need to redesignate some areas in industrial land where they should be rather than where they are and add to them. Is implementing this early in 2024 the right thing to do, or do we implement it late in 2024 to give us that time to get those ducks in a row, get some houses built so that people would have a place to live once they got a job? The same goes with we can welcome all the newcomers we want, but we have no place to put them. So, identify things like that, spend 6, 8, 12 months even getting those ducks lined up before we start implementing, great and wonderful plan. I think a lot of it is 90% probably standard in every economic development plan in every municipality, but there are some specific tweaks and there are parts in here for Norfolk. But have you got any comments on the timing of it?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councillor. Actually, I think I really appreciate your comments. I will say getting ducks in rows have a cost to it. And I think that the plan, the foundational approach allows us to do that. So it's about laying that foundation so that we can gradually build. So I think it's, I'll be honest with you, and with all due respect, I honestly think the implementation plan is sound and solid. If we fast track even to 2027 and beyond, and even now, to be honest with you, it is not unheard of for developers or investors to actually put that infrastructure in place. Where they come in and build the sewage treatment plant for a residential. It's not unheard of for that to happen. It's just I don't think we've been going out doing it. And so that's what's in my mind's eye, is that we want industry and to drive our community, right? To drive our housing, to drive our investment. So I think the plan is sound and solid, and I think that 2024 next year is so important to us to get those ducks in a row so that we can grow strategically and sustainably. That's palatable from a financial perspective. That's how I feel.
Hey, Councillor Van Passen. Any further questions of John? Councillor Van Andriesch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. It's fantastic. I think we have to start. The commercial, the business, industrial, we have to make those contacts. We have to start from the bottom and work up. It is not unheard of for the industry itself to find land and come back to us saying, can I rezone this? Can I do this? Can I do that? So there's a lot of options here, but the first thing and the core thing is to get to those industries and businesses that we have, see if they do want expansion, what they want to do. We have a lot of them out there. Maybe there's room for this expansion to make all of this work, because we have to start somewhere. We can't let it go again. We have to move forward and think positively and think outside the box. So I'm totally in favor of this.
Councillor Duthie.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, and through you to Mr. Regan. I wonder if you can maybe just comment briefly, because it's my interpretation that economic development doesn't happen overnight. It's not something that happens quickly. So I wonder if you have any kind of comment or real life example of that kind of turnover time or conversion timeline in certain business categories and sectors.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Councillor, for the question. Great question, and I can share with you. It's economic development is not for the faint-hearted at all. It can be a long process. I can also say there's some, in economic development, the broad scope, there can be some very early wins and low-lying fruit, if you will, for some successes. Those long-term investments, in referring to Councillor Van Passen's comments, they can take a long time. They can take a decade. If you look at, they can happen very quick, but they can also take a long time. So I'm thinking, even in, as you know, I came from the city of Guelph. Some things I worked on 3 years ago are coming to fruition now. In Haldimand County, I was there 15 years ago, and it takes time for these things to mature and develop. But it is about, I mentioned before, when's the best time to plant a tree? Well, it was 50 years ago, or it's today, because it does take time for those returns on investments. And again, it's hard. It's hard to stand up and say, yeah, we want $400,000 from council, and we're going to do wonderful things, and that's great. And that's why we want to have those key performance indicators and have that compass so that we're on track, and we want to measure it. So if I'm standing here in front of you next year, I may not have a big win. I may not have a manufacturer here, and I apologize. That's not what I'm promising. What I'm suggesting is that over the course of proper investment, we will get there. We will have that investment. We will have those expansions, and we will defer the tax base from the residential ratepayers. But it does take time. So it can take months. It can take years. Tomorrow we could get a phone call, and the next thing you know, we're in an industrial park. It's really hard to say, Councillor.
Thank you for that. I think that's really helpful in terms of the mindset and the lens that we need to consider as we look at this recommendation before us. So I appreciate that, and I would echo Councillor Kaufman's comments. That was a great report, easy to read, easy to follow. So well done, and thank you. And if I had the ability, I'd give it to you right now.
Any further questions of John? Councillor Van Passen again.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of weeks ago, you made a presentation to the SCORE board. And I know, I bitch about this all the time too, but are we making, we are a partner in an economic development corporation that looks after 5 counties. Are we making good use of that partnership? Because I went through bunch of the things in the budget that we want to spend money on, or in this plan, like the advocacy, work with U of G and Fanshawe. Well, Score Ready works with them plus Conestoga. The value-added food strategy, that's a collective one. The skills training, when the Score does that. Promotion, Score does that. Transportation, the workforce planning board, the rural housing, the regional investments. That's about $60,000 that's in the budget that they've been working on for years, and I think that we don't make use of them as much as we should or could. Do you have any comment on that?
As long as it's not career limiting, Councillor, through your worship. So I would ask the same question about KPIs. I've been in and out of Score professionally since its beginning. Yes, they do touch on some things. We're focused on Norfolk County, and that's my mandate. Is Norfolk County is our borders. The 5 counties Score looks after the 5 counties, of course, and so my focus is Norfolk, period. And other than that, I don't know if I want to.
But that's
just
not,
stop there, perhaps, Mr. CAO. I think.
But that's not what I read in the report. When these are a bunch of things that you want to increase, like the value-added food chain strategy is a cooperative, a bigger geographic area. The transportation and the Ride Norfolk is a bigger picture thing. Advocacy with the feds in the province, the work with the UFG and Fanshawe. In the report, those are all talking about a bigger thing beyond the borders of Norfolk. And again, we should make better use of the capacity we have there now and not double spend money doing the same thing twice.
Our CAO would like to make a comment.
If I may, through you, Mr. Chair, I mean, all valid points from Councillor Van Passen in regards to Score. I would say that continued reliance on Score is probably not the preferred choice. I think they brought us as far as perhaps we're going to go. I think the strategy that's being presented is perhaps to augment what they're offering or replace what they're offering, whatever it is. I think that's a different discussion, but clearly I think just to continue to rely on Score and Score alone, it hasn't necessarily brought the returns that I think John is presenting to you. And let's face it, Norfolk County isn't a for-profit organization. We exist. We are here to present and provide a community where people are proud to live in, where people can come in and get work and live comfortably. And part of that is investing in economic development. And I think we all know that we have been under investing in economic development in the past, and we know we've got huge residential growth that's forecasted. And we need to do something to provide jobs for these people who are going to be moving here, for the people who are already here. And that has to start somewhere. And what's in front of you is a proposal for council to consider at budget time in January in the context of the greater financial challenges that we have. And this will be one of the decision points that council will have at budget in January, how much you want to invest in economic development. And being armed with the total financial picture that will be in front of you in January in terms of the levy. But I think to just continue to rely on Score and Score alone and do a few small things that we've been doing on economic development hasn't really paid the dividends and the long-term returns that we're looking for in a more comprehensive program within economic development.
Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, my intention was not to push down anything from Norfolk County and not to rely on Score and Score alone, but I think we can make a lot better use of the asset there that exists as a supplement to any independent plan that the county has itself. And I think we've been lacking a little bit in using or making the best use of the resources that have been available to us. So.
Okay, anybody else with a question? Mayor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's not a question, but I would regret not raising it. So I want to also thank you for the report and thank you for the breakdown on the finances. I've never had a report like that with a budget breakdown to give us an idea of what you're going to be focusing on and working on. So that's greatly appreciated. And it's not relevant to the motion today, but I would kick myself later if I didn't raise it. Out of that entire report, and I hate to come at it with a criticism, but it's just one out of the entire report. I am not I'm sure I'm behind that municipal accommodation tax review. So I guess by way of passing this here today, we're endorsing, kind of the concept at large, but I'll just plant that seed with you. And if you get busy on other things in the plan, I'll be happy with that as well. But thank you very much. Happy to move the recommendation if you'd like, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Martin. I'll call on you to move the recommendation. Any last comments? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Reagan, for your presentation. And I recall, I do have one question, and it's with respect to the coordinator analyst position. What will some of the duties and responsibilities of that position be?
Great question. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the job description, actually, there is a draft of it that talks about some of the duties. The intent is to respectfully alleviate some duties from myself and Sue Gardner, our Economic Development Officer, to focus on some of those activities that require, and I hate to use the word junior level, but to free up some of our time for a better return on your investment in myself and also Ms. Gardner for that. The analyst component of it is something that we desperately miss, and we're so lucky that one of our digital service squad members, Lindsay Kowalski, has helped us with that background document. It was massive, and it had all those graphs in it from back in November. And Lindsay was very helpful in pulling all that data together. But we're not analysts, right? That's not my background. That's not my skill set. But to actually look at the data and help us with gap analysis, help us where we need to focus on those investments. That's the type of quality of person and skill set that we're looking for. It's also helping with every single component of that strategy in providing more horsepower, as mentioned, to help us deliver those services. We can certainly get through this faster, better, and more efficiently with more horses in the barn, to be quite frank.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So we're going to move forward here, and I just want to say that with the former council of Norfolk County pretty well gutted Norfolk's Economic Development Department with reduction of positions. I see this as an investment in Norfolk's future, and hopefully we'll once again be open for business. Thank you for your presentation. So Mayor Martin is putting the recommendation on the floor, and seconded by Councillor Michele, and I will read it. That report CD 23-105 Economic Development Strategy Implementation Plan be received as information, and that an allocation of $380,000 for the Economic Development Strategy Implementation Plan, including the addition of 1 FTE, be referred to the 2024 levy supported operating budget as a discretionary item, and that a decision on the strategy presented in report 23-089 and implementation plan presented in report CD 23-105 be deferred until the January 2024 council meeting, subject to budget approval. Any further discussion to be had? Call the vote. Those in favor? That is carried unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next Environmental and Infrastructure Services Division, and we have a report 8.3.1 Organics Recycling Pilot Programs, EIS 23-078. We have Marissa Bakla here, Supervisor of Waste Management. She will introduce the report. Go ahead, Marissa.
Thank you, Chair Columbus. Good afternoon, Mayor Martin and members of council. I'm here to present report EIS 23-078. Approximately 40% of residential curbside garbage is comprised of organic material, and currently Norfolk County does not have a green bin program to divert this material from landfill. Norfolk County staff have been approached by 2 separate groups inquiring about conducting organic pilot programs. The first is Food Cycle Science, which presented to council in October on their countertop food cycler unit that converts food waste into compost in 6 to 6 to 8 hours for use in plants and gardens. Staff are recommending a countywide pilot of 150 food cycler units, with Norfolk County subsidizing $100 per unit. Units retail between $500 and $800 depending on the unit chosen. However, under this pilot program, additional grants are available to lower the purchase price to $150 or $300. In turn, residents will provide data on usage through a 12-week survey. The second group is Greening Our Community, Dover Coast, which is a residential condo community that has established their own green bin program in their community as a result of being unable to use backyard composters. The program uses 3 large carts placed in central locations around the community 1 day per week, where residents bring their organics for disposal. Carts are then collected weekly with a clean cart left in place. Material is taken to Davidson Environmental in St. Catharines for processing into compost. As part of the pilot program, the group is tracking the amount of food waste diverted through their program and the number of households participating. Both sets of data would be beneficial to staff to understand generation rates among households to assess the feasibility and costs for future green bin programs. At this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions related to this report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for your report, Marissa. Very good. I must say, concerned about the recycler. It sounds expensive for a unit, but a couple of questions. Davison Environmental, is it, that do the one in Dover Coast?
That's correct.
Is there a charge for that, or they do it for free, or how do they?
Through the chair to Councillor Brunton. So there is a charge, a weekly charge that the group is charged. It's $39.78 per bin per week for collection of that material.
$40 a week for, and does
Per
that,
bin. So they do have 3 bins, just
3
to
bins.
Clarify.
And what, in your report, you collect 14,500 metric tons a year, correct? Is that total curbside waste?
Through Councillor Cumbus to Councillor Brunton, that's just the garbage portion of the waste. So that's not including recycling or leaf and yard waste. That's just the garbage portion.
Okay, right, but you say 40% of that 14,500 is compostable? It would go in a green bin if we had one?
That's correct. That's the estimates from other municipalities that have a green bin program, is kind of from also waste audits where they go through the material, that it's about 40% is organics that could be diverted.
Okay, and but the 14,500, is that of all Norfolk then?
That's correct.
So I guess my concern is many rural people compost on their property. I know I'm probably an example of that, and I'm sure a lot of farm people compost on their properties. But so 40% would mainly be, or if you tried to recover 40%, it'd be more in the urban areas, I assume, because you're not going to get it in the rural, I wouldn't think. 40%. Does that make sense? Or?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Where are we at with our waste our contract right now? I know we went through the exercise a while back about fuel, that issue. Are we close to recalling, or where did we leave off with that?
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Brunton. So we are, that contract actually expires in September of 2026. So we have an additional 2.5-ish, 3 years.
Okay, and okay. That's all for now. Thank you. Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chairman. The Dover Coast thing, that is a condominium corporation. So we are not responsible for the garbage in their blue box and stuff like that, are we?
Through the chair to Councillor Van Passen. In 2017, Council had approved that if condominium corporations applied to Norfolk County and met the conditions, that we would collect garbage and recycling from condominium corporations. So that community does receive garbage and recycling collection through Norfolk County's curbside collection contract.
So they're already getting extra services that they weren't entitled to, and now they want more? Is that? what I'm getting, or is it just convenient for them to run as a pilot because they've been doing it for a while? So.
Through the chair to Councillor Van Passen, this group has been very active in finding alternate solutions for organic waste. A lot of them had moved from other municipalities that did have a green bin program and wanted to be able to divert that material. They had looked at other options to them, but unfortunately in their condominium, the rules won't allow backyard composting. And they've gone down this road and they've launched this program and have already done 6 months of this pilot with funds that they've raised on their own, but then we're looking to extend it and gather more data for us through this program.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Van Andriesch.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. So that project, what would the net cost be to us to run that project? Say if we ran it, I don't even know what your anticipated timeline was, but.
Sorry, through Councillor Columbus to Councillor Van Andriesch, which project are you referring to? The Dover
condo
Coast
project. Yeah, with the green bins.
So their estimate was about $7,200 per year. And the one thing with their agreement with Davidson's right now is it's not based on the amount of tonnage that's in the bins. It's just based on per pickup of the bin.
Per pickup of the bin, and then it goes elsewhere. So it's
correct.
It costs about $7,500. You said.
Yes, $7,200 is what their estimate was per year.
Per year.
And that's for 200 households in their community.
Okay, and now when we also have in here the food cylinder project with these the on the counters. We saw them and they were quite interesting. What about people like that be able to put those in their homes? Is that an option for them as well?
Through the chair to Councillor Van Andriesch, yes, it would be an option. They would also have to purchase that unit if they were interested, though.
Okay, if they were interested. And for other people interested, these, you have two types here. What would be the net cost to after the rebates that you have or subsidies that you have proposed? Are you saying the first one is if I went out and wanted to purchase it, or is $150? Is that correct? And then the second one was $300.
Correct.
Okay. And you described it, and I remember reading some information on it as well. Overnight use, blah blah blah, and it works well.
I personally haven't used the unit, so I can't speak to that. But they have indicated that there's 103 municipalities across Canada that have used the unit, and our neighboring Brant County also ran a pilot program. They did a smaller study of about 50 units, but had a wait list. So they had close to 100 residents indicate that they were interested. So they ended up doing a lottery system.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Next, Councillor Duthie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to Ms. Bachla. Thank you for your report. I just want to ask a little bit more about the Dover Coast project. So I think I heard you say that they've been running a pilot for 6 months already. So presumably there's some amount of data that we've already received. What additional data are we expecting to get by running this pilot continuously through 2024? Like what more will we learn that we don't already know?
Through the chair to Councillor Duthie. So as they've ramped up, they're getting more interest from their households in their community. So really it's just giving us additional household data as to what's going into the green bin program, whereas initially it was a slow startup for them. So just a broader range and generation rates I think would be beneficial.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I guess, can I maybe just get you to comment on how beneficial that would be? You know, if we already know certain things, I guess really what we're learning is interest, how much interest there is in the community, which I think is fair. But I guess I also wonder, would we not already know that by just doing the first initiative with the food cycler program? So your comment on that.
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Duthie, I think it just gives us a better span over the number of households participating. Obviously, when you have a smaller number of households and a small tonnage, it's kind of tough because you might have a few that are champion green bin participants, whereas if you do it over a larger study, you might have some that are participating some that might be smaller generation rates, things like that. So if you are able to reach a bigger survey group, that helps normalize your data over a set.
Mayor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When I read this, I found it to be a little bit misleading because although it's just going to budget and there's no decision to be made today, the Dover Coast Group came to us with kind of a hypothetical figure that they would ask us for. So I believe they will come to budget and explain all of their metric, all of their data, all of their information they have, and a request for funding for the amount. So I don't think like we've arbitrarily just picked a group to help. They've asked us for help, but unfortunately that information isn't here. So I'll just clarify that for the group. But further to that, a big part of the discussion that we had was that it wouldn't necessarily just be limited to Dover Coast. I think if we're going to put money out to encourage people to produce results and change the way that they recycle and throw out their waste for the benefit of the taxpayer at large, because we're diverting waste, that it shouldn't just be isolated to one community. So we would also potentially look at another community in another ward, another subdivision, another condo corp, whatever it may be, to see if they had interest in picking up a similar arrangement as the Dover Coast Group with Davidson's. But the food cycler just was another way for us to collect data at the same time. So there were a couple projects going and we weren't sure which was the better of the two or going to provide the most benefit. So that was kind of why this came forward with two different options. And I do agree with you, Councillor Brunton. I don't think a lot of people from our rural communities are going to be interested in this, but they will have to put out, the urban centers will most likely participate and they'll have to put their own financial investment forward if they're interested in doing so. But I just wanted to clarify that because I think that it's important that the group comes to us and asks for this funding, and it's not interpreted as council and staff just cherry picking a particular group in a particular community. And I think that we can open this up to others across Norfolk.
Councillor Huffman.
Thank you, Chair Columbus. Through you, I guess my question is, I do want to see more data than just the Dover piece, because they have bought into this already and they know what they're doing. So I would like to see it go to like a regular household where they don't compost already, like my household kind of example. Not that I'm not soliciting for one. But my question is, what if we don't have a buy-in within other parts of the community? Are we stuck with these units, or do we not buy them until we get buy-in? How does that work, Marissa?
Sure. Through the chair to Councillor Huffman, the thought and discussions with Food Cycler is that we would have a registration process ahead of time. So residents would have to prepay for the units when they sign up. Food Cycler has assured me, because I was also a little hesitant that I didn't want to be left trying to store units or sell them, that most of the communities that they've gone into, registration has filled up within a week or two, or up to a month. But most of the time, all the units were spoken for. And in other instances, they've had to have a wait list or other options for residents because there was such a high demand. So hopefully the buy-in would be similar here. But the thought is that we would do a registration process before we actually had the units on hand.
Anybody else with a question? Councillor Van Passen for a second time.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Food Cycler thing, that's just, the individual would purchase a unit and then they use it themselves, the end product they use themselves, put it in their gardens and things like that. We're not going to go pick that up after the fact. So that is totally separate from the composting and picking up the organics in the bins at the Dover Coast. They're just two completely different things, right?
Through the chair to Councillor Van Passen, yes, that's correct. The food cycler, it's up to the resident to utilize the byproduct afterwards. And then for Dover Coast, Norfolk County personally is not coordinating any of the pickup of the bins or anything like that. That's all the Dover Coast group that's undertaking that whole program.
And Councillor Brunton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Marissa, do you have a breakdown now? Like, I assume you have breakdown by routes in terms of tonnage, but do you have breakdowns like, say, Waterford versus Simcoe or anything like that in terms of what they produce? Total.
Through the chair to Councillor Brunton, I don't offhand, but it's something that I likely could obtain for you.
Okay. If you did the recycler unit, would you try to concentrate it in one urban area? Is that how you do it? Or, I mean, is it going to prove anything if we have 3 in Dover and 10 in Waterford, or would you want them? That's what I don't know, if you want to centralize it somehow.
So through the chair to Councillor Brunton, that's part of the data collection. When they sign up, we would ask for their location, and then once they're providing their usage data, when they do their analysis, they could likely say there was X number of units in this ward, for example, and it generated this much diversion rate and things like that. So that was part of our discussion with food cyclers, that we would look at where they're purchased from, asking the residents where they're from, so then we can compare areas and see in that case as well. Or if there was demand, for example, from Simcoe versus Waterford or things like that.
Yeah, that's why I asked the first part of my question. If you knew the tonnage, say Waterford or Simcoe in the urban area, and you centralize your recycler in those areas, it would give you a pretty good indication of the volume or the tonnage. My other question is Brant County's results. Do you have those can you get that information for us?
Through the chair to Councillor Brunton, I don't have that information, but I could reach out to my counterpart in Brant to see if they're able to share that information, or if they have it yet.
Are they just new to the program, or have they done it already?
I believe they did it in the fall, but I'm not sure that they have the results yet.
Okay, it'd be nice to know that, even if at budget time, but just a comment. I know a green bin, and I can speak from experience years ago, it was estimated to take more waste out of the stream than the recycling of the blue box. That was a proven fact years ago, but it never happened, and there's a reason for that. So anyways, thank you.
Okay, I have no one else noted as a speaker, so thank you for your report, Marissa. And we've all got the recommendation in our report. Can I have a mover of the staff recommendation? Councillor Brunton moves, and Councillor Huffman the seconder. I will read the recommendation that report EIS 23-078 organics recycling pilot programs be received as information, and that an allocation of $21,500 for the purchase of up to 150 food recycler units plus applicable shipping be referred to the 2024 levy supported operating budget as a discretionary item. And further, that an allocation of up to $7,200 for the Greening Our Community Committee, Port Dover Coast, be referred to the 2024 levy supported operating budget as a discretionary item. Any further questions? Councillor Van Passen.
Could I ask that you split those two, Mr. Chairman?
Okay. Do I have to call for a vote to split it, or can I just rule on? Okay, we will split that then. So we'll deal with the first two paragraphs first, okay? If that's okay with everybody. We're splitting the vote, Councillor Brunton. We're splitting the recommendation here to deal with those last two separately. Okay. It's the first and second paragraphs is the first part. Okay, everybody comfortable with that? Okay, I'll call the vote for that. Or go ahead.
If I may jump in for some debate, because I'm not sure which one he wants to vote down. I would like to speak to the motion, which is to support sending the purchase of some or subsidization of some food cycler units to budget for discussion as a discretionary item. I think that's reasonable. I think it's our responsibility to investigate some green waste management. We heard directly from staff that 40% of our materials can be diverted and that the information would be useful to staff. Furthermore, I think that once we look at our budget in full, we can prioritize the needs and where we're at with the overall levy increase, and could possibly look at using the council initiative reserve to fund something like this, as it is out of the norm, and that would have a zero impact on the levy. So I will be supporting the motion and hope that we can debate it further at budget. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are you telling me that you're the mover of that? Okay, yep, okay. Further discussion on this? I need a seconder.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Councillor Van Andriesch is the seconder.
You're talking about the, just for clarification, because we're all over the place here, that is the first part, which is the bin, or the tabletop bin. Okay.
The 150 food recyclers. Okay,
It's a cute little bin.
yeah. Okay,
Yeah, food recycler.
so Mayor Martin is the mover and the seconder is Councillor Van Andriesch, right? Okay, anything further with discussion? I'll call the vote. Those in favor? That is carried. Those opposed? Councillor Van Passen is opposed, I guess. Okay, now the second part of that report, EIS 23078, Organics Recycling Pilot Programs be received as information, and further that an allocation of up to $7,200 on the Greening Our Community Committee of Dover Coast be referred to the 2024 levy supported operating budget as a discretionary item. That's what's on the floor now. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Broughton and Councillor Huffman. Okay, any discussion with respect to this item? Councillor Van Passen.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This group's been in front of council before, and again, if we want to do this subsidy to them, that specific group, I'm not sure of the quality of the data you would ever get out of it, because you have a very dedicated group, and you can't extrapolate that across